Fortnite has created some of the most loved players and creators in gaming history.
Sing, 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 sing!
On the wing! Never back down, never what?
But for every loved player, there is a hated one too.
I can't shoot my shotgun, kill him! He's in your build!
Shut the f***. Hey, why should you talk to like that, bro? What's your problem?
What?
Get the
Garbage
Taking you for 5 minutes. Get the fuck up here.
You haven't.
I've been waiting 10 minutes. Now this team's in front. Nah, I haven't, okay? I've been telling you. Take me farming metal. Come.
Today, I will be talking about the 4 most loved and hated Fortnite players of all time. Starting with our first loved player, one of the unluckiest people in the world, Yamzo. I swear something happens to this kid every FNCS, but at the end of the day, people love him and we're all rooting for him. Well, everyone other than the people that DDoSed him in FNCS Grand Finals, but we'll get to that in a second. Yamzo was born on September 21st of 2006 in Canada. He started playing Fortnite in February of 2019 during the Share the Love Cup, where he placed a fantastic 5,026. This obviously isn't the best placement, but it was his first time ever playing in a Fortnite tournament. After missing out on the World Cup, Yamzo would continue to play throughout the 2020 year and earned a few $100s here and there in different cups and minor tournaments. However, he would start to make a name for himself in the next year of 2021. Yamzo got his first 2 big wins in the UEFA Euro 2020 Cup, where he placed first, and then he got first again in another smaller Booga late game tournament. Both of these wins, however, were just the start of Yamzo's fantastic year, as on September 5th, 2021, he would qualify and compete in his first ever FNCS Grand Finals. This was during Chapter 2, Season 7, where he would qualify with his trio, Chucky and Nut. The 3 of them placed 26th in NA East out of 33 teams, which although wasn't the placement they wanted, it was still pretty cool that he had qualified for his first tournament, and he was just getting started. Following his first time in the Grand Finals, he became a consistent name on the FNCS leaderboards and would go on to compete in countless Grand Finals, majors, and even LAN events. However, despite being one of the best players in the world, he never could win an FNCS. And it's not because he wasn't a good player, it's simply because he was unlucky. Let me explain. During the Major 1 of 2024, Yamzo and his duo Rise were doing fantastic on day 1, and in fact, they were in first place going into the second day. However, after going through half of day 2, Yamzo's internet completely went out. After fiddling around with the router, trying to fix the internet, and literally doing anything he could to get back online, it became clear that something else was going on. There were no wiring issues, no crazy weather, nothing. The internet just simply wasn't working, and when he called the internet company, they said that everything should be going fine. And this is how we found out that Yamzo was being DDoSed. For those of you that don't know what a DDoS attack is, basically it means that somebody is using your IP address to make your internet cut out from a remote location. As it turns out, somebody had paid off the landlord of the house that Yamzo and Rise were staying at to expose their IP address, which obviously led to the DDoS attack mid-game. Unfortunately, because the duo had to sit out for 2 whole games in a row, their chances of first place were essentially over. And after the devastating situation, they would end up getting 8th when they went into day 2 in first.
Like, I literally just missed out on $70,000. Like, why are you crying? Why would I not cry? Like, what? I've never cried in this game once. I literally just have to sit here and watch me in 8th not being able to play. The people who did it, they were literally, it was literally happening before today, like, during my warm-up. Before the tournament even started, bro, my Twitter just wouldn't load. I'd load on streams trying to watch and shit, it just wouldn't even load. Then we factory reset it 15 minutes before the tournament, and we play the first 2, then we fucking 15-minute reset it, and then the fucking 4th game we don't load it again. 5th game, I go on island, I have 15% packet loss and clicks, and I have no audio. I more care about the fucking win than the fucking money, bro. Like,
and this video is going to be me getting 8th in the FNCS Grand Finals in 8 games because we were getting DDoS throughout it. 2 of the games we didn't load in, our internet went down right as we were loading in, and then the last 2 we were playing with packet loss and people's builds were building. It's quite sad that we had like one of the highest chances to win the tournament and ended up didn't winning it and got 8th. but I hope I can move on from this, and I'm gonna come back stronger.
To this day, nobody knows who attacked them during the finals of Major 1, and unfortunately, Major 2 wasn't that much better for Yamzo and Rise. Because once again, they would end up in an unfortunate circumstance. This time, it was another team contesting them off drop last minute, resulting in them getting only 10th place. And I think that's why Yamzo is one of the most loved players in the world, because even though he has some really bad luck, people really love the fact that he gets up and keeps trying. As many of you know, 2025 is off to a better start for Yamzo, as he teamed up with a trio that included Higgs and the GOAT himself, Clix. And although they've been doing incredibly well, it hasn't knocked his bad luck streak out of the way, because in Major 1, the trio placed 3rd, which broke Clix's 4th place curse, but in Major 2, they would end up getting some really bad luck and narrowly missing out on 1st place. While staying neck and neck with Peterbot's team the entire major, there were a ton of issues with griefing, and then Higgs would mess up a chug splash which caused them to lose.
Chug me! Guys!
Oh my god, he found Big Bomb said.
Oh my god! God, he's just fucking sold!
That was absolutely big.
He pulls out the big pots!
Absolutely big.
So it does look like this team has a little bit of bad luck to overcome if they're going to play better this year, but Yamzo and Clix are sticking together and are excited for Major 3 and for Global Finals. Unfortunately though, our next player on this list is not in the loved section, they are in the hated section, and it's because they've been called out for having a bit of an ego. It's one of EU's biggest players, none other than Vadil. Alexander Vadil Schlick was born on January 11th of 2005 in Germany. Vadil got involved playing video games after he followed the footsteps of his older brother who had a gaming PC. So naturally, Vadil wanted to get his own PC, and of course would end up using it to play Fortnite. After starting off in Chapter 1 Season 3, Vadil quickly got his first earnings by making $100 in the World Cup qualifiers. And although he didn't qualify for the LAN, he started to get much better throughout the rest of 2019, and by 2020, he was ready to start playing with the best of the best in EU. In January of 2020, he would play in the Contender Cash Cup on his friend's PC because it was a little bit better than his, and against all odds, he would come in 4th place, earning $1,250, which he used to buy an even better PC. Once he got his new computer, he started to grind hard for the upcoming FNCS, where he would place 34th out of 100 in the EU Solo Invitational on May 24th. The following season of Chapter 2 Season 3 was the infamous Solo FNCS season, and while most players hated this, it gave new players a chance to make a name for themselves. Nobody was being held back by not being able to find good teammates, and all that mattered was your pure solo skills. This time, Vadil would finish 13th, which really put him on the map as one of the best players in EU. However, this would be the start of what would also be Vadil's downfall as far as being a hated player, because he grew a bit of an ego thinking that he was one of the best players. However, I'll talk a little bit more about how that affected him in just a second. It was clear that Vadil was only getting better at this point, and he would consistently place in the top of the Grand Finals leaderboards, but he still wasn't able to get his win until Chapter 3 Season 3. After beating out Malabuka and Mustache for the 1st place FNCS title, he won $150,000. This, of course, is a life-changing amount of money, but the win went directly to his head and continued to fuel his massive ego. And to prove that this is true, I'll tell you a little bit about some of his more recent teammates. Most recently, Vadil would play with a trio of his old friend Mr. Savage and Rezon for Major 2, and the 3 of them only placed 19th out of 33 teams. And it's kind of confusing considering that these are 3 of the best players of all time, but after we found out a little bit more about the drama going on behind the scenes, it sort of made sense.
We already told him after grants, okay? We already told him after grants that he can't be keeping on doing this. You all noticing grants. I was often pissed off on him. So was Savage. Because he was backseat gaming and he was just acting, yeah, I can tell whatever you want. He was just sitting there and acting on stream and acting in the grants like he's 500 times better than us. Every call he would do is better than Savage's. Every play he would have done is better than mine. When he died and was watching me, I should reposition. I should do this. I should go left. If I go right, I'm doing a mistake. If I do this, it's a mistake in his head if it isn't the same thing. It's insane.
On top of being a toxic backseat gamer, Vadil seemed to be talking about other pros behind their backs, claiming that he was better than them.
I'm crashing out, I don't care. He is on his ego trip. He thinks he's the best player in the world, but he isn't. He's sitting there saying he's better than Flixie, he's better than Vico, he's better than Veno, they're all shit, whatever. And it isn't like that. You gotta realize when he isn't better than that. I would never say in my life that I'm better than those players, because I know I still need to get there. And it's insane that bro, he has an ego over everything right now and literally thinks he is the best player, the best person, he does the best decision. Every decision he does is not in his head, it's wrong.
So clearly it does not look like Vadil is going to be returning to team with these guys anytime soon, and it's become more and more difficult for him to find teammates because of the way that he acts. Unlike our next player who everybody wants to team up with, one of the nicest and most underrated players we have ever seen in Fortnite, Pollo. Miguel Pollo Moreno was born on May 8th of 2008 in Mexico. He got into Fortnite and gaming in general at a very young age, being that Fortnite came out in 2017 when he was just 9 years old. Pollo would start to play the game in Chapter 1, Season 4, but it took him a very long time to get involved in the world of pro Fortnite. And although we don't know a ton about Pollo's early life, we do know that eventually he decided he wanted to go pro in the game after realizing that he was better than a lot of his peers during casual matches. And Pollo would face some really huge obstacles along the way and was almost banned permanently from Fortnite, which we're going to talk about soon. But luckily for Pollo, one obstacle that he didn't have to jump over was having a bad family, because he had one of the best you could. His parents seemed incredibly supportive, which we see in this clip right here.
He's good at school and he's good at playing for us.
Nice. W dad, bro. We like that. W Pollo, W Pops. Good luck out there. Tomorrow's going to be crazy.
One of the biggest obstacles that Pollo was going to have to face in his career was something that he couldn't control, being his age. And as I just said earlier in the video, Pollo played Fortnite when he was 9, which means that he would have to play for 4 years before being eligible for any tournaments. If we look at Pollo's birthday, which was in May of 2008, that means that May of 2021 would be the first time Pollo competed in competitive tournaments. Well, that's not exactly true, because just like some of the other Fortnite pros that we've talked about on this channel, he didn't exactly listen to the rules and started competing competitively in February of 2019 before he even turned 11 years old. At just 10 years old, Pollo would jump into the Share the Love event, but unfortunately only made it to the contender division. And maybe this was a blessing in disguise, because I think if Epic Games found out a 10-year-old was qualifying for their tournaments, they would have had a major crackdown and banned him from playing. But we were headed in that direction anyway, because Pollo would continue to play tournament after tournament, but still wasn't getting any wins yet. However, on August 8th of 2020, Pollo made his first earnings ever in Fortnite during the FNCS solo qualifiers in Chapter 2, Season 3. And for those of you who have been paying close attention, you know why that's a problem. And for the rest of you who are a little bit slower, let me explain. Pollo getting his first earnings on August 8th of 2020 means that he was earning money at only 12 years old, which is not only insanely impressive, but also against Epic's rules. Anyways, Pollo would end up placing 11th on NA West and taking home $300 during these qualifiers. One day later, he would also place 23rd, receiving another $200, and he would even make it to the NA West Grand Finals on August 16th of 2020, and finishing 53rd for another $400. This was an incredible way to make your first earnings ever. I mean, not only a cash cup or a random wager, but an FNCS tournament. And this impressive feat was a sign of amazing things to come for Pollo. However, this win did not make Pollo an instant pro. Keep in mind, this is over 3 years ago now, and if you guys are like me, I hadn't heard of Pollo really until these last few months. It would take Pollo 4 months to earn his next set of money from Fortnite, where he earned $400 in the Frosty Frenzy event on December 12th of 2020. And after another 4 months passed, he would earn $200 in a solo cash cup on April 10th of 2021. And for those of you who have passed the 4th grade, you know that April is before May, which means that Pollo was still 12 years and 11 months old at this time, meaning he earned $1,400 $500 before even legally being allowed to compete in these tournaments. But let's just keep this low-key and nobody tell Epic Games that, okay? I don't want to get Pooyo in trouble. Regardless of all these earnings before he turned 13, Pooyo is now 16 years old and earning hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we're going to get to that very shortly, so stick around to the end of the video. So just a month later in May, Pooyo would turn 13 years old, but wouldn't earn again until that following November, where he placed 6th in a solo cash cup, earning $250. Although these earnings are a lot, especially for a 13-year-old, I think Pooyo knew that he was destined for more, and he was just waiting for one big tournament to break through and really make a name for himself. And luckily, that tournament was just around the corner, because following that cash cup, Fortnite had announced the 2021 Grand Royale, and Pooyo, along with his trio Ghouls and Flux, made it to the grand finals of the Grand Royale on NA West. And although Pooyo only placed 30th out of 33 teams in the finals, it was still incredibly impressive that this just barely 13-year-old was able to make it to the biggest tournament in Fortnite history up until that point. This was sort of the catalyst for Pooyo's future career that put him on the map. However, if you think 2021 was big for Pooyo, just wait for 2022, where he would really start to shine. He was consistently making it to every grand finals during pretty much every single season, and during these events, he would typically place in the top 50 players. It was clear that although he wasn't a top player yet, he was moving in a great direction and was able to maintain a consistent skill level. That's one of the biggest challenges for a lot of these up-and-coming Fortnite pros, is that they might place high one event and then low the next, but here he was able to prove he was consistent, which would be very good for the future of his career because some incredibly good players would want to play with him. On March 5th, Pooyo and his duo Defiable would place second in the Major 1 for NA West, and because of this placement, Pooyo started to get some more attention from bigger names. And this is where Pooyo would get one of his first big breaks ever, and that was by playing with Booga. Although they only played a couple cash cups together and weren't really a long-term duo, Pooyo playing with Booga definitely legitimized him in the pro community, and it showed everybody that he was a force to be reckoned with. Now that the central servers had been created and East and West had merged, Pooyo was really struggling to find his footing on the central region, and like I said, playing with somebody like Booga can just give you that right away. And because of this, he would find a new duo quickly, and that was Sphinx. After settling on his new duo of Sphinx, the two got right to work. During FNCS Major 2 Grand Finals, the new duo of Pooyo and Sphinx would finish 3rd place together. This earned the duo an incredible $34,000. And up until this point, Pooyo had made some good money, including a $12,000 win on West, but this was nowhere close to that. I mean, this was triple his most earnings before this tournament. Because of how well Pooyo and Sphinx did in this tournament, they were headed to FNCS 2023 Global Championships in Copenhagen. Although the duo wouldn't exactly place how they wanted, they still got 16th out of 50 teams, which, when you're talking about the best players in the entire world, not just their region, that is really incredible. However, despite this crazy performance, the two decided to split ways. And for Pooyo, this would be probably the best thing that ever happened to him, and I think you guys know why, but we're going to talk about that in just a second. Despite all of Pooyo's success in the 2023 season, he was considered a relatively new player. But because of how well he did, a lot of longtime pros were looking to duo with him during the next season. You see, when a really veteran or high-level pro player is looking for a duo, they don't necessarily look for the best or most earned player. They look for somebody that matches their playstyle and also somebody that they can mold into the duo that works best for them. And there was a certain massive pro player that was looking to fill a gap in his duo teammate, and that was Peterbot.
So you were a fan of Peter. Did he reach out to you to play, or did you reach out to him?
I reached out to him.
Really?
Okay, so he was, I'm not trying to be rude or anything. He carried his teammate Sphinx last year. I just knew how good he was because we were coached by the same coach. I would watch him every tournament I could. I just knew that like we were gonna be the best duo.
And these two instantly clicked as duos. They immediately picked up a duo Cash Cup win on December 17th of 2023, which earned Pollo $1,600, which for a Cash Cup is a pretty good chunk of change. Although this was just a Cash Cup, going into the new year of 2024, people would have to look at Pooyo and Peterbot as a threat based on this massive win. The two worked so well together because Peterbot was incredible at dueling and facing fights, while Pooyo's game sense and strategy and his ability to stay calm in stressful situations is how he really shined.
Feels a little better for me because Peter's been known for a while, but this year I came up, I guess. He's definitely better getting eliminations, but I think I'm smarter than him. He'll probably tell you that as well.
By being smart, knowing when to move, fight, or retreat, Pooyo was able to reel in Peterbot's insane energy and make it actually competitive. This doesn't mean that Peterbot doesn't have game sense, we all know that he does, but when you're such a good fighter like Peter is, sometimes you just want to go after everybody, and it takes a really confident and well-rounded teammate like Pooyo to keep them in check and help him win. But I don't think anybody who watched the first Cash Cup that these guys played together would have been able to predict the absolute dominance this duo would have over the region in seasons to come. The FNCS Major 1 Grand Finals for North America was held on February 25th, 2024. The duo had done relatively well in qualifier rounds, placing in the top 5, but they had only been playing together for a couple of months now, so people were still not sure if they were going to place well in the finals. And that's sort of a crazy thought, knowing what many of us know now and what's happened with this duo in recent times. It's crazy to think that anyone would ever doubt these guys, but believe it or not, they did. However, this team was about to prove everybody wrong and show that they should not be underestimated. Although they didn't snag first place, the duo would get second in NA Grand Finals with 721 points. As many of you know, the duo that came out of Majors 1 with a first place was Acorn and Cold, who put on a generational show with 900 points in the tournament. So to be fair to Peterbot and Pooyo, they probably would have won on pretty much any other region, but Cold and Acorn had a better day, hats off to them. Following this incredible performance at the majors, Pooyo was approached by a professional Fortnite org. At this point, he had been a free agent since August of 2023 when he was dropped by the then big popular team, Fusion Esports. And while the second place win was incredible, Pooyo teased signing a contract on April 1st with the famous Simpsons gif. Editor, show them the gif. Yeah, everyone uses this to announce their org, but because he posted it on April 1st, which is April Fool's Day, nobody knew if he was being serious or not. And as it turns out, he was not fooling anybody, because a week later on April 7th, Pooyo would announce that he'd been officially signed with Xseed. This was huge for Pooyo as he now had an org to support his Fortnite career. And at this time, Peterbot would still be competing with Agent, but eventually later on, the two would both get to represent Xseed together, and we'll talk about that more soon. FNCS Major 2 was coming around the corner, and this would be a different story than the last major, because after the incredible performance at Majors 1 getting second, Peterbot and Pooyo would definitely show the world that they were not backing down or giving up and were hungry for that first place. Because on top of this Major 1 performance, Pooyo and Peterbot would manage in the 2024 season to complete the first ever perfect Cash Cup. And what does that mean? Well, it means they literally were perfect. They won 6 out of 6 games in the finals.
It was too early.
Go back. Nice.
Nice. Nice! Oh my god.
Let's go. Let's go.
But as impressive as this was, at the end of the day, a Cash Cup is just that, a Cash Cup. And you can't compare it to the performances that they would later go on to have in FNCS. And speaking of FNCS, Major 2 was about to start. Just on the first day of the tournament, the duo broke the record for most points ever earned in a single day in FNCS. This totally set up Pooyo and Peter to get an easy win on day 2, and they didn't even really have to try. They could just take it easy and wait out the rest of the games.
That's right, these guys have just broken the previous record for most points in a single day. The last time we saw this was OCE Chapter 4 Major number 2 from Sons and Anon.
But But you know Pooyo and Peter, and they weren't letting these other players off easy. They decided to completely and utterly destroy the competition.
Pooyo still hanging out way up above the clouds.
That's what's impressive about this. Peterbot is down here literally 2v1ing, fighting everyone while Pollo's like, hey man, I'll make sure I lock in the win.
One for a no-scope, okay?
Alright. Don't feed them the splashes. Don't feed them the splashes.
Dead! Oh my god!
Holy shit.
Yep, Pooyo and Peter came out on top of Major 2, not only as champions, but also as world record holders by getting 1,092 points in the FNCS finals with 5 wins out of the 12 games. For those of you that don't watch competitive Fortnite on a regular basis, this is literally unheard of. You have to realize this is the best players in the entire world all in one lobby, and Pooyo and Peter are making them look like a bunch of Timmy FNBRs. And trust me, I am not good at Fortnite. You don't want to be a Timmy FNBR. And speaking of Timmy FNBR, he seems like a pretty cool guy, and you guys should definitely subscribe to him if you haven't done that so far. Anyways, this was Pooyo's first ever FNCS win. And although this must have felt amazing, he knew that the job was not done yet, and the 2024 season was only going to get crazier for Pooyo. And remember earlier when I mentioned that Pooyo had joined the org Exceed? Well, they also picked up his duo Peterbot. So now the dynamic duo of Pooyo and Peterbot were headed into Major 3 together on the same duo and the same org. And although they were both incredibly confident and people were fearing them, not many people have ever won back-to-back FNCS titles. And in fact, the last person to do it was the GOAT himself, Booga. And on top of that, this major was also a little bit different from the ones they had played previously. See, Pooyo and Peter had been competing in the NA region because that's where they're from. And generally speaking, people don't move regions very often. And if it does happen, it's maybe one person in a season. However, with the 2024 Global Championships coming up, this major was the last chance that most players had to earn their spot for that tournament. So some of the biggest players in EU thought they would have a better chance of qualifying on NA, so they flew all the way to America to play in the grand finals here. And you're probably wondering why that matters, and it's because it absolutely stacked out this lobby. Not only were Pooyo and Peter going to have to play against America's best, now they were also going up against the likes of Mongrel, Veno, and Mr. Savage, who are some of the best players in Fortnite history. So having already qualified for the major and having nothing to lose and everything to prove, Pooyo and Peterbot dropped in for day 1 of FNCS Major 3.
Peterbot and Pooyo currently holding the Axe of Champions, looking to defend that title. We kind of seen these guys just perform out of their minds, but I guess for now the question becomes, how have they been performing in this major? And honestly, what would it take to get that back-to-back?
And at the end of day 1, the duo was unfortunately in second place behind the GOAT of Fortnite streaming, Clix, and his new EU duo, Veno. And since Clix has never won FNCS before, and being as popular as he is, pretty much everybody was rooting for Clix, making Peterbot and Pooyo sort of villains in the situation. Of course, second on day 1 is great placements for literally anybody, but Pooyo and Peterbot had expectations to win, and they wanted nothing else. So the duo would come back, absolutely dominating on day 2, and shock the entire Fortnite world by getting the first back-to-back FNCS wins that we had seen in years.
Games here in NA, and we can say without a doubt, it is confirmed, Peterbot and Pooyo have done it. The back-to-back has happened. Peterbot and Pooyo, congratulations once again. The Axe of Champions will not leave their possession, and they're taking that. They're gonna take that to the Global Championships in September as a big flex piece. Like, hey, we are the ones that want to take it all.
So Pollo, who has just won his first FNCS a few months ago, is now entering the Global Championships of 2024 as a back-to-back FNCS winner and a favorite to win the entire Global Championships. The 2024 FNCS Global Championship was held on Saturday, September 7th and Sunday, September 8th at the Dickies Arena in Dallas, Texas. The event was split over 2 days, 6 games on each day, and on game 1 there would be 6 games with regular points, and day 2 there would be 6 games with a 1.5x multiplier, meaning that all the pressure would be on for day 2. The players would be fighting over a $2 million prize pool where the first place winners would take home a whopping $400,000. But these kids were definitely nervous. And when I say kids, I want to remind you that these two are literally still kids. As of today, filming this video, Peterbot is 17 and Pooyo is 16, meaning that before even entering adulthood, they're competing for more money than some of us will see in a lifetime. There was only one way to find out who was truly the best, and if these two were them, and that was by going into the games and competing.
It's Peterbot, it's Pooyo, make some noise for Chapter 5 has been theirs with back-to-back championships. Now they're looking to keep that streak continuing.
As expected, Pooyo and Peterbot blew everyone out of the water on day 1. They ended with 442 points, which was 147 points ahead of Thomas and Queasy, who were in second place. That being said, as I mentioned earlier, the points on day 2 have a 1.5x multiplier, meaning that this 147 point lead could be closed in one game if they had a bad game and Thomas and Queasy popped off. So it was time to lock in and finish the job. Day 2 started out rough and had a lot of ups and downs, but at the end of the day, there was only one team who was destined to come out on top.
Gonna show them what he is made of.
Pooyo and Peterbot have had so much time now to recuperate what they lost as far as health is concerned. Peterbot's already got one knock on to Trulex. It's just Chicho standing between them at this point. And Peterbot finds his third victory royale on the day, but most importantly of all, a global championship.
The undisputed 2024 champion, Pooyo, Peterbot, taking home in the only way they know how, and that is with a victory royale. Congratulations.
This proved officially to everyone that Pooyo and Peterbot are the best duo in the world and possibly the best of all time.
Would you please give it everything you've got for the FNCS Global Champions 2024, Peterbot and Pooyo!
So there you have it, folks. Pooyo and his duo Peterbot will probably go down as the best duo in Fortnite history. But many people on social media, as I said earlier, are just praising Peterbot alone instead of both teammates equally. And honestly, I think it's due to the fact that Peterbot has more content out there, and generally he's more popular because he's really loud and outgoing. But we have to remember that not just loud players are good. Somebody like Pooyo, who's quietly confident and knows how to reel in and control a player like Peterbot, is definitely somebody that I would be scared of. This silent killer, like I said, is only 16 years old, and the sky is the limit for Pooyo in Fortnite and beyond. And now going back to the hated side, our next player is Asian Jeff. Some of you OG Timmy fans might remember my first video about Jeff, and in fact it was my second ever video on this channel. Wow, time really flies. But anyway, he was one of the fastest growing content creators in not only Fortnite, but all of the internet at this time. But since releasing that documentary, a lot has happened in the world of Asian Jeff. But for those of you who haven't seen that first video, let me give you a quick recap on Jeff's rise to fame. Despite seeming like an overnight success, Asian Jeff has been streaming since 2019. Of course, when he started, he was barely getting any viewers, averaging like 10 or 20 viewers per stream for years years before getting any traction. And even though he barely got any views, he kept streaming. Jeff was basically going live every single day. In 2020, he only missed 17 of the 365 days of streaming. And for those of you who don't stream, a schedule like that is insane to keep up for so long. And we're gonna talk more about that later. However, slowly but surely, Jeff began to grow a community of fans as he started averaging around 500 to 1,000 viewers per stream, which is not bad at all, considering I barely bake 100 viewers when I go live, but still pretty low compared to other Fortnite streamers like Clix or Tfue at the time. And speaking of Tfue, one of Jeff's first ever YouTube clips to blow up was a video of him killing Tfue during the World Cup qualifiers.
No.
Bro, what is my gun doing, dude? After gaining a little bit of traction from this video, Jeff decided to challenge Clix to a 1v1 wager so that he could become even more popular. However, even with all of this attention from huge names in Fortnite, Jeff wasn't in the big leagues quite yet. It wasn't until the Fortnite OG season a couple of years later that he would really start to pop off. And with this new season came a huge jump in viewers for Jeff. And by huge, I mean he went from an average of around 1,000 viewers from the season before to averaging over 10,000 viewers during the OG season. People loved Jeff's over-the-top crazy personality combined with his skilled gameplay. But with any overnight success usually comes some controversy. Many people were accusing him of cheating on Fortnite or view-botting his streams. People couldn't believe he would just blow up like this out of nowhere, but to be fair, none of these accusations were ever proven. And that's pretty much Jeff's story up until the point that we made a documentary about him just a couple months ago. But there was one question that I had at the end of that video, and that was, all of this change in Jeff's personality had some people questioning whether or not this is the real him. We've seen a lot of really popular streamers and YouTubers burn out very quickly because they had to be somebody that they weren't on stream. So I really don't hope this is the case with Jeff, and I genuinely hope that he's really enjoying the content that he's making, not just the money and views. In my opinion, the answer to this question will solve the mystery of how Asian Jeff fell off, and we're gonna get to more of that later. But before I get into the negative parts of this video, I do want to say this video is not meant to be hateful at all, and I simply want to cover a topic that I think you guys and myself would both be interested in. So please make sure to be respectful both in mine and Jeff's comments, and only show him love. I really hope that he continues to have a really great career. But without further ado, let's talk about how and why Asian Jeff fell from the top of the internet very quickly. As I said before, Asian Jeff's massive rise to fame happened during the Fortnite OG season. Millions of people were returning to Fortnite for the first time in years, and they were looking for new streamers to watch play the game so that they could see what was up. This was the perfect opportunity for a mid-sized streamer like Asian Jeff to start building a much bigger audience. And that's exactly what he did. But there's only one problem. What would happen when the Fortnite OG season ends? That's the hardest part, maintaining your audience. A lot of people have this overnight fame sort of thing happen, but taking that and turning it into an entire career with prolonged views can be incredibly challenging. And to be fair to Jeff, he was doing a good job at keeping these viewers for a little while. He had his biggest stream ever on December 18th, where he had a whopping 26,000 viewers at one time. And this was a whole 2 weeks after Fortnite OG ended. And that number is insane considering he was averaging only 1,000 viewers like a month before that. But being new to all this fame, Jeff made one massive critical error, and that was going on vacation for an entire month.
This vacation, bro, like, I have to go on it, bro. Like, there's no saying, oh, no, you can't go, you're doing very good right now on Twitch. No, I have to go. And I'm not gonna go for a week. It's family, bro, like, family. Like, I know I have a god opportunity, bro, but I'll try to stream as much as I can, bro. I bought a travel PC, but it's not gonna be that much, bro. But listen, bro, when I fall off, bro, you guys gotta study me, bro. You gotta study this fall off, bro. I'm just warning you right now, bro. I'm going on vacation on the 28th until January, or until February something, alright? I'm warning you guys right now, bro.
While it's totally normal to go on a family vacation, this completely messed up his streaming momentum. And for those of you that don't make content, let me explain this in a different way. Imagine you were going to school and you had a massive final exam, but you didn't go to school or study for an entire month before taking the exam. You're definitely going to fail. And I think we sort of saw this effect with Jeff's popularity falling off. He had such great momentum and people were enjoying his streams every single day, so after he disappeared for a month, it became very difficult to get those viewers who had left to come back. And to be fair to Asian Jeff, he certainly wasn't happy to be away from Fortnite for all that time. He did manage to stream once or twice while away in Asia, but he didn't have his normal setup, but that, compared to the time differences, didn't make for optimal streams. Once getting back to America and on his home setup, things just weren't exactly the same. But he definitely had not fallen off yet. He was still averaging over 6,000 viewers in February during his big return. But something massive was about to happen that would seemingly change his outlook on content creation. For those of you who don't know, Asian Jeff has been duo partners with Oliver OG for a very long time, on and off again. They're kind of like a couple that keeps breaking up and getting back together, like Brecky Hill and Jinxie. And these guys go way back. The first time they participated in a tournament together was in 2021, but they've known each other for over 6 years. Their relationship was seemingly going really well, however, it started to fall apart in March of this year. And on March 13th of 2024, Jeff released a video titled "It's Over."
Me and Oliver OG actually had beef yesterday, the day before making this video. And you know, I slept on it, right? And I was just devastated, man. But basically, right, the whole premise of this video, we played a $1,000 tournament, $1,000 third-party tournament, right? Which isn't significant. Like, it's just a $1,000 tournament. FNCS and dual cash was better, but we didn't do too good, right? But yesterday, he did something very weird, and it hurt my soul. It was like getting broken up with. And the lesson from this, guys, is that you guys cannot trust anyone. Not even your closest, what you think friends are. The weirdest thing that he did yesterday was that he was basically like, he was just talking on stream to his chat. He's like, chat, who should I play with, bro? Should I play with Playify? Should I play with this, right? I don't want to name drop anyone, bro, but like, that's just so weird coming from him. Like, imagine, right, you're dueling with someone and they're talking to their chat saying, hey chat, who should I duel with, right? Behind your back without even DMing you. But another thing that makes my heart hurts the most, bro, is I paid $600 to go to Texas for 0 ping before this FNCS. I was gonna go and I had to cancel that because I don't even have a secure duo that I might travel with. Even without having a duo, I'm going to Texas naked. I don't even have a duo that I'm locked in with. So that's why, guys, I might not play FNCS this season because people like this are in the world. So I would just want to say, man, if I get dropped, this might be my last YouTube video. Goodbye forever, and I probably won't be playing FNCS nor streaming this much because it's just too much for my heart to handle.
As you can tell from this video, Jeff is clearly upset about everything going on with Oliver. And it's crazy that a 6-year friendship could end over something like not doing well in a 1K Fortnite tournament, especially when both of these guys are making hundreds of thousands of dollars. But despite the upsetting video, the duo did continue to play together for a little bit longer. Because of this, many people thought Jeff was trolling to get attention, which is completely possible. And that's sort of what I was talking about before with Jeff's personality. Because he doesn't really know how to turn off the trolling, it's impossible for his audience to understand when he's being serious, and it's probably difficult for his friends too. But a month later, on April 30th, we would find out that Jeff was definitely not trolling, because he released a video called "I Just Got Dropped and Now I Have No Duo for FNCS."
Yo, what's going on, guys? This is a very hard video for me to make, and I'm not trolling. I am not trolling this video. During this time, 4/30/2024, 6:26 Central Time, I just got snaked by Oliver OG. I had a vision, and it was a stupid vision. My vision was to play with Oliver OG in all 3 majors, to try to actually qual for LAN. But what am I thinking? 2 streamers? Like, you just cannot compete with 2 streamers. It's just, like, stupid because, like, I traveled 2,800 miles, bro. 3-day car ride to get here for 0 ping. I'm grinding my all day. This is the reason why, like, I just want to disappear, bro. Like, this is the reason why I don't even want to be here anymore. Like, I grind my ass all day, bro. I have no good teammates, bro. I don't ever get good teammates because these motherfuckers think I troll, bro. Let me show you guys what this kid said to me, bro. Hey, Jeff, As you can tell from the past few tourneys, it looks like it's in our best interest to split in our both. You mean it's in our best interest, bro? I just never, if I wanted to drop you, I would have already. Like, you're genuinely stupid, bro.
And unlike the first video, this was an actual breakup, which left Jeff to scramble for a new duo last minute for FNCS Major 2. And he eventually landed on playing with Broken 4X, and the two did not qualify for the grand finals. Oliver OG, on the other hand, teamed up with his duo partner Larson, and the two of them made it all the way to 12th place in grand finals, which is one of the best finishes we've seen from Oliver OG. This obviously was probably upsetting for Jeff, as he saw somebody that he'd been playing with for so long see so much success right after dropping him. This whole situation would be stressful for anyone, but because of the tournaments and the travel, this decision might have cost Jeff tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. This drama with Oliver clearly affected Jeff whether he realized it or not. He barely uploads on YouTube anymore, only releasing 2 videos in the last month. And the videos that he has uploaded are barely hitting 100,000 views, which pales in comparison to the millions he was receiving just months before. And that's just on YouTube. When you look at his Twitch stats, his time spent on stream is lower than ever before, and his average view count per stream is back to around 1,000, the same as it was before his big blow up from the OG Fortnite season. His recent fall off has led some to believe that his view jump was only because of Fortnite OG. And don't get me wrong, the success of the OG Fortnite season definitely helped with his rise to fame, but I wouldn't say that was the only reason. We saw other streamers go up in numbers, but I don't think anyone saw 20 times the normal views that they saw. Those numbers were just insane. What I really think Jeff's problem is his personality. And let me explain, because I know that might have sounded mean. I don't mean it that way at all. I mean his streamer personality. You see, Jeff is known to be a little bit of a troll online. And to be fair, a lot of other streamers are super toxic to get views and attention as well. But most of the time, you know when they're messing with you. Jeff, on the other hand, will post videos about allegedly quitting or getting dropped or various other things, and people will have no idea whether he's being serious or not. Even his ex-duo partner, Oliver OG, complained a few years before they broke up about how Jeff is more focused on content farming than actually playing the game.
Next time you're done with Jeff? Yes. So, some people were freaking out yesterday since we queued into some duo custom with Jeff, and then he stopped playing after that. And that was only, like, so the future with me and Jeff is basically us just playing third-party tournaments if my teammate can't play or have absolutely no one else to play with, because Jeff is a good player, and he's fine to play with as long as we're not perming. As soon as you lock in the perming with Jeff, he starts to become a freak, and he starts acting like content farming, like how we did right there. But if I'm not perming with him, and he content farms, he knows that I'll just stop playing with him, and it won't be a problem, because I'm not perming with I'm not tied to a duo Cash Cup finals or tied to an FNCS like every qualifier with him, so it won't matter. That makes sense.
And listen, this behavior is fine when you're just a content creator, but once you add professional tournaments into the mix, it gets a little bit tricky, especially when you have a duo partner that's counting on you to play well. And if this personality is something Jeff just turns on when he's playing or recording, that could get really tiring as a friend like Oliver, who knows his real personality and would rather just talk to that guy. Not to mention, keeping up an on-stream personality that's so high energy can be incredibly tiring for anybody, but especially an 18-year-old kid who's streaming 300 days a year. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if after all these years of daily streaming, he's finally just burnt out. And to be clear, there's nothing wrong with being burnt out. It affects everybody, even myself, and I've only been making videos for a few months. But when you have no way to handle it, you could throw your entire career away. With all this being said, however, it does seem like Jeff is doing his best to bring back the old views, because he has made a massive move recently announcing that he'll be duoing with Cypher PK.
This season, I have a crazy goal: qualify for the FNCS Grand Finals. And I'm excited to announce my duo is Asian Jeff.
Personally, I think this is a great move for Jeff for a couple of reasons. One, this may give him a chance to get rid of his troll persona and maybe even fall into a personality that feels more natural. And in addition, for those of you that don't know or live under a rock, Cypher PK is one of the biggest Fortnite content creators in the world, and he's been doing this for a very long time. So if anybody's going to be able to give Jeff advice that can help him get through this point in his life, I think Cypher could actually be a great mentor for Jeff Jeff as well. A lot of people are saying that Jeff has fallen off permanently and he'll never see those views again. Personally, however, I don't think so. In my opinion, he's just gotten into a bit of bad luck and some hard times in his personal life. I really do wish the best for Jeff, and I hope he's doing well mentally and physically and is just taking a much needed break. Because I would love to see him come back to full-time content creating, making more content better than ever, and just being himself. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want to do as content creators. We want to share our ideas and our thoughts and who we are genuinely as people. And unlike Jeff, our next player is still incredibly popular. He is one of the biggest creators in the entirety of Fortnite and just gaming in general. His name is Typical Gamer. Andre Typical Gamer Rebello was born on March 23rd of 1992 in Canada.
Yeah, so I grew up in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. A lot of people think I'm from America, but no, I'm definitely Canadian.
He was raised by his two parents from Portugal alongside his older brother.
So both my parents are Portuguese, like straight from Portugal, which a lot of people don't know as well. I was spawned, and my brother was too. So I got one brother, he's older by a couple of years. That's a family situation there.
Typical Gamer got into video games at a very early age as a young kid.
So my very first game, I think I was like 3 or 4. It was playing on the SNES, so the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. I actually have my original one. Yeah, let me show you. So this is the actual original one. This is the one that I played on. First game I ever played was Super Mario World.
And for those of my viewers who were too young to have an SNES, it came out all the way back in 1990. And here's just a little clip of what the games used to look like on it. Yeah, a little bit more pixelated than what we're all used to now. But at the time, these graphics were ahead of their time and absolutely insane. It got near perfect reviews from all gaming outlets that existed at the time. As TG got older, his love for video games grew even stronger.
For sure, yeah. So I had a pretty regular school life. I was pretty good at school, but I tried to finish my homework as quickly as possible so I could just rush and play games.
He played a wide variety of games, from MMOs to story-based action-adventure games.
Some of my favorite games of all time that I poured like the most hours into, SOCOM 2, which is a third-person shooter. Guild Wars, the way I would describe for people that don't know, is pretty much if you didn't have money to buy World of Warcraft, you would play Guild Wars because there was no monthly subscription. So I played a lot of Guild Wars, over 10,000 hours, I think.
But just because he was a huge gamer doesn't mean that he never left his house. TG was also a huge hockey fan and even dreamed of being in the NHL when he got older.
So I didn't play any like official sports. I played a lot of road hockey, and then I played on rollerblades hockey as well. And I really wanted to, growing up, be an NHL star. My parents wanted me to get into soccer, and there was soccer and hockey. And we looked at it and we looked at the prices, and it's just so incredibly expensive to get into hockey. And I wish I played soccer. I love soccer. I love playing soccer, but I was just so focused and honed in on this idea of playing hockey that anything else wouldn't do.
While TG slowly stopped playing sports as he got into high school, he did not step back from gaming. Because of this, he wanted to explore the internet even more and decided to create his YouTube channel on August 24th of 2008 when he was only 16 years old. And I can imagine that some of you weren't even born back in 2008, so it's safe to say Typical Gamer has been doing this for a long time. At the start, there was barely any YouTube algorithm. They actually hand-picked the videos that would be put on the featured page. And shortly after that, on July 9th, 2009, Typical Gamer would also branch out into the streaming industry on the website we now know as Twitch. However, back then, it was still called justin.tv, and he would start live streaming Battlefield 1943 with his older brother.
First game I ever made content on was actually, I mean, this is super random, but it was Battlefield 1943, and I was streaming on Justin TV. So that was in 2009. I still have some clips on my Twitch channel of that. We love the vibe of, you know, it feels like you and your boys are playing in a room together, right? Hanging out. So how can we do that? So we went to eBay and we bought this thing called an Easy Cap for literally, I think, like $10. And it might have been the worst quality ever video, but we were having a blast.
And TG was not lying. The quality was definitely rough. But as time went on, TG's streams would slowly but surely get higher in quality and entertainment. On May 24th, 2010, TG would upload the first ever video to his YouTube account, which was a Red Dead Redemption free-for-all. And it was just that, a free-for-all multiplayer game of Red Dead Redemption with no narration or talking at all. However, we're still early in his career, and on May 25th of 2010, Typical Gamer would upload his second ever video to the account.
Hey everybody, I just made this video to show you what unlocks you have at the Outfitter when you reach level 50 for the first time in Red Dead Redemption's multiplayer.
This was TG's first ever tutorial style video about the game Red Dead Redemption, and early on, TG's YouTube account would become known for this tutorial style of content.
So there were some notions of success in about 2010 when I was doing Red Dead Redemption content. It actually did really well. So my tutorials would get anywhere from like 100,000 to 500,000 views. For a tutorial at that time, is pretty insane.
Although TG loved playing games and streaming, he couldn't exactly make a career out of it. At least not yet. Considering we're back in the early 2010s, there was not as much support for creators as there is today. Even for the biggest creators, there wasn't really a job to be made out of it. So someone like Typical Gamer, who was doing this all as a hobby, still had to finish school and have a job. So TG did what his parents wanted him to do, and he went to college while still making his YouTube videos.
I went to college for computer science, and then I also went to college for business. Computer programming, I actually did it for a year, and then I dropped out. It didn't kind of get me excited, so I was like, let me drop out. So I dropped out of that.
And on top of doing YouTube and going to school full-time, TG also held down some jobs here and there to help pay for his expenses.
So the first time I ever made money was when I made those PHP mods for text-based games. That was the first time I actually made money. And then after that, I worked at Walmart, and I also worked at The Gap. And it was really funny because it was me, and I had 3 Indian ladies on my team who were absolutely incredible. They were like 5 feet tall, and it was a very physically demanding job. So I had to end up doing a lot of the labor there, which is kind of funny.
While Typical was in the trenches of Walmart, he was still uploading videos regularly and even expanding outside of the Red Dead Redemption niche to other games like Call of Duty, Minecraft, Last of Us, and more. But TG was having a problem when it came to growing his channel. Doing tutorials was very difficult and incredibly time-consuming. You had to write very detailed scripts that were both easily understandable but also very entertaining for your audience, and you had to go into the game and capture all the content, edit everything together. I mean, it was a lot of work. In this time of early YouTube, the algorithm would favor accounts that posted daily, so TG had to find a way to make videos as fast as possible, but also keep his high quality. And because of that, he decided to adapt and find a way to succeed outside of tutorials.
Now, I came to this crossroads where I was looking for GTA 5 content, and there really wasn't any. I told myself that every day for the next month, I was gonna upload and see how it does. So I locked myself into this. And the first time I uploaded, I think it was like talking about how multiplayer is gonna be 16 or 32 players. I had seen a Reddit thread, and I had disagreed what the Reddit thread was about. I was like, let me make a video on this, right? So I made a video on it, and the first day I got like 20,000 views. I was like, holy crap, this is insane. And then the next video I uploaded, 40,000 views, and then the next video upload got 80,000 views, and the next video, and it kept going up until this point where before GTA 5 was released, my videos were getting like 300, 400, 500,000 plus views, sometimes
and on top of
views.
this, once the actual game came out, he took this hype train that he had created and did his first ever live stream on YouTube.
I love it when she says recording a Grand Theft Auto. Like, damn, I'm playing that game.
And from that point on, TG was a very dedicated GTA YouTuber. And once these YouTube videos started to blow up, it began to look like YouTube could actually be a real career for TG. So because of this, he decided to drop out of college and really focus on his channel. But that is much easier said than done.
Back in 2013, I think November, it was after my GTA videos were doing really well. I think the game had released, and I thought I just had to really dedicate myself fully to this opportunity. And I was able to present to my parents and be like, hey, I think this is really the right decision. Let me try it out. I mean, that's really tough, especially with my parents being immigrants. Right? So university, especially for immigrant parents, is so massive. So the fact that I want to drop out, I think really hit him in the core. But these days he kind of comes up to me sometimes. He's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, Dad, you don't have to be sorry. It's like, nobody knew. This is such an experimental time in gaming. And he used to take away my internet all the time. He used to bring like the modem with him to work, because I would play too much games. I mean, and he's like, I'm sorry for doing. I'm like, no, you're doing the right. I was playing way too much games.
So with the weight of his family and his own future on his shoulders, Typical Gamer took the risk and dropped out of college and got to work. And because of this consistent uploading, as well as having more time now that he wasn't in school, Typical Gamer was able to hit 1 million subscribers in 2015. However, this wouldn't be the most important moment in Typical Gamer's life in the year 2015. Because he also met who would now be his wife, Samara.
That must have been 2015, I think. So before the Fortnite release, but after GTA stuff happened. So I think I had just cracked like 1 million subscribers when I met Samara. Before we even started dating, I would tell my friends, like, that's my future wife. I kind of knew when I met Samara. She's such a special, amazing, incredible person. She inspires me so much, and I'd taken her to go horseback riding for one of her first dates and stuff. So it was love ever after. But I was still living in Toronto, so we were long distance for basically about a year. That was really tough, but I remember how excited I was when I would book a trip, and it was like a month from now I'd come see Samara, and we would FaceTime for like hours on end. I really appreciate those moments, and I think it helped us build a really great bond. And I remember how anxious I would be in excitement when it would come to the date of me visiting her. That date couldn't come sooner. Like, I wanted to fast forward life so bad, and it was just, it was amazing.
So for a while, it looked like TG's career was at its peak. He was making incredibly successful GTA content and was now one of the most popular gaming YouTubers throughout the mid-2010s. However, a game was about to release that would not only change Typical Gamer's life, but the entire gaming community forever. Fortnite. On September 26th, 2017, Epic launched the Fortnite Battle Royale mode. The concept was simple, just like H1Z1 and PUBG, which were both games that Typical Gamer was familiar with. There would be 100 players entering in an arena, and only one can leave. They start on the battle bus, skydiving into an island where they would gather loot, build forts, and fight off enemies until they were the last one standing, all while running from the ever-shrinking storm. But like any new game, Epic Games wanted big YouTubers and streamers to play it on their accounts, so that way more people could see it and build up hype around it. And around this time in 2017, Typical Gamer had over 5 million subscribers at this point. So he was the perfect fit for a sponsorship from Epic Games themselves.
What's up, everybody? Typical Gamer with your daily YouTube live streams and more. And today for you guys, I got some Fortnite Battle Royale gameplay for you. This is sponsored by Epic Games. Shout out to them for sponsoring this video. And we're going to be playing the new Battle Royale mode, where it puts you and 99 other people, 100 people in total, against each other in the Fortnite world, which means that you could build stuff, you could blow stuff up, and there's just so many different options here. I was just playing a little bit, I was getting into the groove, and I think I'm ready to show you guys how freaking good I am at this game. So if
Fortnite was introduced to me, I had seen, things about it in the news, etc. But the first time I had the opportunity to play it, Epic actually offered me a sponsorship to play it. So the first time I ever played Fortnite, I was paid to play Fortnite, which is kind of funny.
That's right, the first time Typical Gamer ever played Fortnite was literally because he was paid to in a sponsorship. And obviously, it's turned into way more than just a sponsorship since then.
The format of Battle Royale, I was playing PUBG before. PUBG is very serious. If you're caught out in the open, you get absolutely bodied. Fortnite had this ability to build, and albeit anybody at that point could not build. I don't know. You definitely remember like Myth Crank in the 90s, and people going crazy or building a tower, and people would sit in these, 1x1s. All that was absolutely insane. But I love that you have the ability to defend yourself no matter where you are. So that's why build mode really stood out to me. But it was just the feeling for me, especially solos, that you're able to beat like 99 other players. That's pretty insane. And it leads to these intense moments and these anxiety-filled moments that just lend itself to a really awesome victory royale. And it was they had such an amazing update cadence. They had such an amazing just rush of everybody and their mother playing Fortnite. It was a magical time.
Typical Gamer wasn't the only person who felt this way about Fortnite either. Millions of people everywhere flocked to the game, and it was easily one of, if not the biggest release in gaming history. Not to mention, it was one of the first games to positively break into pop culture. Let's do a quick comparison of how television talked about GTA when it was released.
It's a video game that is shattering sales records.
That is to say the least. There's a good chance the teenage gamers in your house may be, well, playing it as we speak. And the adult content in Grand Theft Auto 5 begs the question, do you know what your kids are playing?
First, how they talked about Fortnite.
I'm not really into video games, but I found out that Fortnite makes hundreds of millions of dollars a month, and the people can make millions of dollars a year just from playing Fortnite. So this morning I went out and I bought myself an Xbox, and I'm gonna be rich.
Yeah, just a little bit different. Anyways, for the first time ever, it was not only cool to play video games, but it was also socially acceptable to use it as a way to make a living. With all of this going on, Fortnite started to have live events. One of the most notable ones being the Fortnite Pro-Am on June 12th of 2018. This was the first ever Fortnite official LAN event, and it featured all of your favorite gamers. They all battled it out for a $3 million charity prize pool. Typical Gamer was paired up with Vince Staples. Unfortunately, the duo didn't win first place. As many of you know, that title went to Ninja and Marshmallow.
All he has to do is breathe on him and he's gonna get the win. And that's gonna do it! Ninja gets the $1 million charity here at the Fortnite Pro-Am. Him and Marshmallow come out on top.
But this was not the last time Typical Gamer would be invited to an event. He was also invited to the TwitchCon Stream Invitational that took place during the TwitchCon on October 28th of 2018. It started off with 2 solo games.
Do you know who I think does not get enough credit? I mean, yes. Typical Gamer. He's a very, very good player.
Yes.
And I don't think that people... Whoa, what?
I don't think that...
Is that how far you can go? I didn't know you can go up that high. Is that how... Can you please explain?
Yeah, he's going that high, man.
Typical Gamer, 0 materials, has high ground, but now he's going to be in 1v1 against the
It's
college.
Typical Gamer versus Fear itself.
Baby. Fear's got the editing coming out. Rocket launcher in the hands of Typical. He's going to try to shoot it.
Almost right into the needle. Oh my God.
What is Fear going to be able to do? Fear does have shields. He does have that health advantage over Typical Gamer.
Should be simple,
but
man.
Typical Gamer has those rockets. Fear itself going in for the challenge.
And
he blew himself.
He blew
himself
up. No! Let's go, man. Typical Gamer. Hey, at least he went out with a bang.
While TG didn't get first place, he did manage to win $22,750, getting second.
Situation be the case. Malupo eliminates himself.
In the storm, it ticked him down.
But you know, you had said right. You gotta think about moving. You have to move. As that storm progresses on, you have to make the movements happen.
Unfortunately, he didn't do as well in match 2 as he did in the first one, but 11th place still got an extra $2,000, so you cannot complain too much about that. Then the tournament transitioned into a duo mode where the 50 gamers would be teamed with 50 random duos who attended TwitchCon, and it had some pretty good prize money.
And it's gonna be $65,000 for first place. Second place takes home $44,000. Third place takes home $29,000. And then you see the breakdown, so on and so forth. 11 through 50 will take $2,000. Not bad for a fun day playing some Fortnite. Yeah. You're gonna lock yourself $1,000.
So going into this game, he not only wanted to win for himself, but also for the random TwitchCon attendee that he wanted to win some money too. Stakes and expectations were high, and luckily Typical Gamer was ready to live up to them.
And he's facing off against Svenos. NA versus EU happening right now.
Svenos has no resources. He's very low on HP as well. He's going to be trapped outside. He's getting chunked for a lot of damage.
It's Typical Gamer from up top.
Typical Gamer. Oh, Typical Gamer gets the win. The victory royale. Wow. So well done from Typical Gamer. 4 eliminations in that game for him. Here's the final moments from that game from Typical Gamer's POV. Picks off mid, finds Svenos low. Svenos basically was at 12 HP, gets the W, and Typical Gamer. I mean, really, the 3 players that you see here, so exquisite at Fortnite. So fun, so fun. There you go, and there's the money right there. And this guy,
come out.
his teammate.
Can you just imagine, right? You're like, I'm gonna go to TwitchCon. I'm gonna play some. I'll have a golden ticket. Oh, that's cool. Oh, I'm gonna play a typical game. Oh, that's cool. Oh my God, typical gamer just won us a bunch of money.
If you are not subscribed to Typical Gamer and with Sarek, you need to go and do that right now.
That's right. Typical Gamer got the Victory Royale and $65,000 to split with his random duo. And that was on top of the $25,000 he had already won in the solo tournament. I think it's crazy that people just think of this guy as a content creator when actually he was one of the best players ever in early Fortnite.
How you feeling? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. Right when we won that game, I jumped up and I don't even remember. I just remember hugging him so hard, you know, because it was just, it all boils down to that one moment, right? And it's just, it's crazy when it gets there and you actually win.
Too, when I was invited to the Twitch Stream Invitational, which I was streaming exclusively on YouTube at the time, so kind of funny I was invited. But I won the whole thing. I got first, which was like a crazy $65,000 prize, which was split with my duo, who was a random participant from TwitchCon. So wherever you are out there, I hope you use the $30-something thousand for good. So there's footage of me winning, and I'm like, yes. Like, it felt so good. Honestly, I'm not even joking. One of the peak moments of my life. Like, it was just so much anxiety and adrenaline, like you mentioned, and this tension, and just being able to win a game with so many talented people. There was pros there, a lot of content creators that are so good. I mean, Tfue, Myth, Ninja, like they were all there. And you know, I was able to win a game and get first in it overall was such an incredibly exhilarating feeling.
The Twitch Stream Invitational wasn't the last time Typical Gamer would dabble into professional Fortnite either. He also competed in the Fortnite World Cup qualifiers and even managed to get into the top 100 on NA West multiple times during the 10 weeks of qualifiers. And for those of you that don't know, the World Cup had 40 million participants, which means getting a top 100 on your region is absolutely insane.
And there's something so beautiful that with Fortnite and how they presented that format, anybody, no matter where you are, no matter where you were, had a chance of going to this World Cup, had a chance of making millions of dollars potentially, right? And that's such an exciting notion, especially for a game that was just absolutely slam dunking it left, right, and center. I mean, I remember playing that. I had a blast. I was pretty darn good at the time too. I didn't qualify, but we got near top 100 some of the weeks, and you know, it felt insanely intense.
Not to mention, Typical Gamer was living in Canada at the time he was playing these, so his ping was nowhere near as good as the other pro players in Los Angeles. While TG did not get to make it to the World Cup, he did have another chance to play in a LAN event the next year in 2019, on June 16th of 2019. There was another Pro-Am, and his duo partner was Jimmy Yang.
Typical Gamer followed by Jimmy O. Yang, the actor, also on Silicon Valley. They look excited to be out here. They're taking the stage right now.
And while they didn't win the whole tournament, they did get to snag a victory royale in game number 3.
He knows this is a lot of pressure he's in, but Jarvis has no more builds remaining. Meanwhile, Airwalks has so much to work with.
Everyone is so weak here, Golden. Jarvis falls all the way down to Patriota. Who's going to win the exchange? Typical takes the high ground. In comes Airwalks as well. He actually catches Patriota.
This is insane. Typical Gamer has the high ground. Jarvis is going to be down to 31 HP, and as you like to say, Monster, playing that low ground warrior role. It's a 1v1v1. Jarvis tags Airwalks. That's going to eliminate him. One more remaining, and it's Typical Gamer in the high ground. Jarvis needs to hold this one up, but can Typical Gamer get that final connection, the victory royale in game number 3, and jettison them up in the leaderboards? Typical Gamer scouting around, and he playing great defense there, just holding him off, not allowing him to get any kind of vision. But when is this going to run out? When is he not going to have any builds anymore to work with? Typical Gamer, on the other hand, doesn't have anything. One build remaining, and that's it. He's going to land in front of him, and Typical Gamer! What a win! Victory Royale, 7 eliminations, 17 points total. GG!
At the second Pro-Am, I had won one of the games. My duo partner was Jimmy O. Yang, who's an incredible comedian and just an awesome person. And I had won one of the games pretty much because he died, like, I think pretty much near off spawn. So I had to win it solo, and I think I eliminated Jarvis to win it. Wow. And it was so intense, and just everybody was in the stadium, and you win, and like those moments are some of the best moments of my life.
Typical Gamer and Jimmy ended up placing 10th overall, which isn't bad considering the absolute all-star cast of that year's Pro-Am. And following that tournament, TG would also get to participate in some more tournaments for fun. He got 25th in a Trios Cash Cup on July 14th of 2019, and even almost made his way into a couple of FNCSs. Outside of the Pro-Ams, he also has $2,500 of official Fortnite earnings, which is actually really good for a content creator. While ultimately TG never decided to fully go pro in Fortnite, the competitive side of the game holds a place in his heart.
And then for Fortnite, in terms of going pro, I really love that notion. I've played competitively a bunch in Fortnite, and I love it. It grabs a hold of me. There's some things that have held me back, like ping, for example. Especially in the current environment, I get like 80 ping, which is really hard to do really well. And it's also a time commitment. I mean, you know, these people who do super well spend a ton of time playing the game, and I respect that. Except right now, I have to decide, you know, I have a lot of ventures going on. It's that or competitive. And sometimes, I'm not even gonna lie, the skill sometimes tips a little bit to competitive. And I'm like, I should just move to Dallas and go all in. Because I know I'm a little bit older, okay? I'm not 16 or something. I'm telling you this without a doubt, genuinely. If I dedicated myself, if I dedicated all my time to playing Fortnite competitive, I can make it to FNCS. I guarantee it.
In 2020, Typical Gamer started to expand his channels beyond just the original Typical Gamer channel. He opened up TG Plays on March 2nd, 2020, which was entirely dedicated to content filmed outside of Typical Gamer's live streams. Then, in August of 2020, he continued to progress as he earned 10 million subscribers on the original Typical Gamer account.
10 million! Let's go, lads! 10 million subscribers! No freaking whoa, dude. Oh my goodness gracious. I did not expect to hit it that quickly on stream. I don't know what to do.
Then on May 18th of 2021, Typical Gamer would also start TG Shorts, which was dedicated to the newly popular short-form modes on YouTube. That channel is temporarily vaulted as TG is working on his shorts on his main channel. In addition, on June 30th, 2021, there was also more TG, which hasn't been posted on for a year. But they were all competing to help with the YouTube algorithm at the time. But since the algorithm has had a major overhaul since then, it hasn't been much of an issue to need multiple accounts, and instead most of his content is just on one or two of them. However, in his own words, one of Typical Gamer's most important and huge accomplishments hasn't been by playing the game of Fortnite, but instead it's by opening his own gaming company known as Jogo Games.
I have always wanted to. I mean, I made game mods before in PHP, you know, sold those, talked about that. But I've always wanted to have a company that makes games. And I thought this was going to be something I have, or I start when I'm like 50 or 60. The timeline's been accelerated, but that's what Jogo is. So Jogo, which means game in Portuguese, fun fact, is the company that I started about a year and a half ago. I started with Chad and Mark, and we develop games in Fortnite. And, you know, we have hopes to develop games in other platforms, UGC platforms, and just standalone games as well. We started here in Fortnite. We have over 300 million plays now on the maps. Over 50 million unique players have played the games. And largely, a lot of that comes from our Super Red versus Blue map. It's a lot of fun. But we are developing, and we've hired a lot of people to make what we believe is going to be the next generation of Fortnite UEFN products, right? The next games, it's going to be the next generation of Fortnite games that everybody wants to play. And that comes from the core of, do we find it fun? Do we provide value of where it's fun? And everyone's a great gauge of that. The audience is a great gauge of that. So we're building something really special right now that's released in a month. We have over 25 employees now at Jogo, which is absolutely insane to think about. And wow. We've been pouring a lot of time into this one. Fortnite, we believe that Fortnite wants to be at a certain place, you know, where all the games aren't necessarily Battle Royale adjacent. But right now they're not there, right? A lot of the popular games are Battle Royale games. I mean, Zone Wars, Red vs. Blue, etc. They're pretty much mimic the Battle Royale experience. So this game that we're developing right now is trying to meet that in the middle. where Fortnite wants to be, where Fortnite is, and we think we did a fantastic job. We're excited to share with everyone soon.
Some of Typical Gamer's maps are currently up in Fortnite right now, so definitely check those out. I've already played a few of them and they're super fun, and since 2021, TG has been doing daily live streams and uploads both on the Typical Gamer and TG Plays channels. The content on both of his channels still focuses just around Fortnite, but more specifically around Fortnite challenges.
I went from 0 to Unreal in less than 24 hours. Today I'm gonna try to win with all 5 of the brand new Arcane Burn Super Style skins. In this video I have to get 2 wins back to back as a solo versus an entire lobby of squads.
Not to mention, his consistency gives viewers something to look forward to every single day. And honestly, I think that's why Typical Gamer is so popular. He may not be a pro gamer anymore, and he's not an out-of-touch celebrity. He's sort of just like you and me, or any other typical gamer. See what I did there? Anyways, because of how entertaining and relatable he is currently over 15 million subscribers on his main YouTube channel. And me and TG wanted to end this video with a special message from him directly to you guys. I'm gonna let him finish off the video, so I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching, and peace.
You know, follow your dreams, and just know that sometimes there's gonna be hard days. It's like the ocean. Sometimes there's really rough waves, and it's tough out there. And you know, you're trying to swim, and other times it's the most beautiful thing ever. So you gotta go through the hard times to get to the good times. Don't forget that. Just know that a lot of people are going through stuff. You got this. I believe in you. Keep it up. Keep getting better, and you know, live life.
Our next player, however, isn't as loved as TG, and his name is Dubs. Daniel Paul Walsh, more commonly known as Dubs, started off his gaming career as most other young kids did, because his big brother played too.
The way I got into gaming was through my brother and like my friends at school, because like they were all into gaming. And I started off with like Call of Duty.
But before Dubs became a Fortnite prodigy, he actually wanted to be a professional skateboarder. And he was really serious about it too. When he was just 13 years old, Dubs went to Woodward Skate Camp, which was one of the best skateboard camps in all of America. But on just his first day of camp, a tragedy would strike Dubs that would change his life forever.
So I was 13 years old, skateboarding at Woodward Skate Camp. And the first day I was there, I ended up breaking my femur, which I then had to go get a cast. I was in the cast for about a year.
Yep, you heard him right. A whole year. And look at that thing. That cast took up his whole leg. And when you're in a full cast like that, there's not much you can do, if anything at all. Well, other than gaming, that is. So to help Dubs feel better, his mom got him an awesome gaming setup. And from there, his true obsession, gaming, had started.
That's how I fell in love with gaming, because that's the only thing I could do.
Dubs quickly forgot about getting back on his skateboard, and instead he dove headfirst into the world of competitive gaming. And it just so happens that around this same time, a brand new game was released that would not only change Dubs' life, but the entire world of gaming. On September 26th of 2017, the game Fortnite Battle Royale was released to the public, and it took the entire world by storm. For those of you who are too young, or maybe aren't the biggest Fortnite fans, during this time, Fortnite was everywhere. Fortnite. And just like any other kid at the time, Dubs was obsessed with playing the game of Fortnite. However, the thing about Dubs is that he started to stand out from his friends at school. They all enjoyed playing the game, but Dubs was getting good. Like, really good. So early on in 2018, Dubs decided to start playing in some competitive tournaments. Although he was good, he wasn't really seeing any success by way of earnings until later that year in 2018. During the Winter Royale on December 12th of 2018, Dubs finished 67th out of the top 100, which earned him a whopping $1,500 prize. This might not be huge for some people, but Dubs was just a 14 or 15-year-old kid, so this was probably amazing for him to see so much success early on. Right away, it was clear that Dubs was a force to be reckoned with in solo Fortnite. That being said, we do have to mention somebody else if we're going to be talking about Dubs, and that would be his duo partner Mega. You often don't hear Dubs without hearing Dubs and Mega, and that's because they're one of the greatest Fortnite duos of all time. And here's Dubs talking about how that happened.
So the way I found Mega was back in squad scrims. We had a team and I was the owner of the team. We saw Mega like needed a team, so we picked him up and we just started dominating, and that was over after that.
The duo debuted together on March 17th in the Scallywag Cup. They finished second on all of NA East, which earned them $2,000 in prizes. This second place finish was not only huge because they got to earn $1,000 each, but it really showed how much potential they had as a duo as well as individual players. And the duo would not be stopping anytime soon. Mega and Dubs were about to lock in and train for one of the biggest gaming events in history, the Fortnite World Cup. Epic Games announced the Fortnite World Cup in early 2019. This would be a giant in-person LAN tournament held in New York City with a $30 million prize pool. This was not only the biggest prize pool in Fortnite history, but in esports history. The tournament would consist of both solos and duos, and players around the world would have an opportunity to qualify over 10 different weeks of qualifying tournaments. And the cool thing about this was that anyone could play to win, even without joining an org. 40 million players decided to try out for the Fortnite World Cup, so with $30 million on the line, Dubs and Mega stepped onto the battle bus, hoping to ride it all the way to New York City. And that's exactly what they did. In the first week of qualifiers, Dubs managed to get second placed in solos on NA East, which earned him a spot in the Solo World Cup. But that wasn't enough for him. He also got 6th place in week 3 of solos, 1st in week 5 of solos, and 3rd in week 7 of solos. Dubs was performing so well, in fact, that many people in the community thought that he had to be cheating. I mean, who was this kid that just came out of nowhere? One of these people that thought he was cheating included one of the world's best players at the time, Booga.
I remember watching these clips right here, and I was like, what the hell is this kid's aim? Look how snappy it looks. You guys see how snappy? Like, watch this. Look how, like, flicky and weird it looks. Like, you guys see this?
And this would not be the last controversy in Dubs' career. So make sure you guys stick around for the entire video, because I have a couple crazy stories coming about how FaZe Dubs almost got canceled. However, with these cheating accusations aside, it was safe to say that Dubs was moving on to the Solo World Cup finals. But unfortunately for him and his duo Mega, they still hadn't placed high enough in duos to earn a spot together. And luckily, they did just that. Dubs and Mega placed 5th in NA East, which secured them a spot together for the New York City tournament.
When we qualified for duos, it was so sick because we thought it was over. Like, we were 8 games in and we had like 40 points or something super low, and we had 2 games left. And we had to get like 2 20 bombs back to back and the win to qualify. And we ended up doing it somehow. And then we qualified, and it was just like, it was actually unreal because we did not think we were going to qualify.
After the spectacular performance that Dubs put on in the qualifiers, he started to get the attention of the Fortnite community. Not only was Dubs insanely talented, but he also had a great personality that many Fortnite fans loved. Around this time, he also started streaming and posting videos to YouTube.
Oh my god!
Let's go!
A 40 kill game.
Oh
Holy
my
fuck.
God, I got 20, holy.
And with all this newfound attention, also came an offer from a huge esports organization. Dubs and Mega were about to get the offer of a lifetime. They joined FaZe Clan. With a new org to rep and some doubters to prove wrong, Dubs traveled all the way to New York City to get ready to compete in the fight of his life.
And finally, Mega and Dubs, you can see on the left side of your screen right now.
First up was the duo tournament, and Dubs and his duo Mega did not disappoint. The two placed 7th out of the 50 teams, which won them $375,000 $100,000. At just 14 and 16 years old, this was crazy for them to do. That was a life-changing amount of money, and the weekend wasn't even finished. They were both still scheduled to participate in the solo finals the next day. But this time, Dubs wouldn't have his best friend and duo to rely on. He had to drop in from the battle bus all alone.
Solos is my strong point.
Okay, my heart's racing right now.
You can dominate by going for picks or playing for high ground.
After the day was over, Dubs placed 15th in the Solo World Cup, which was incredible. To put that into perspective, he placed higher than some huge names like Clix, Mr. Savage, and Tfue. This solo placement earned him another $150,000, which brought his total for the weekend up to $437,000. At just 16 years old, Dubs was well on his way to becoming a millionaire. So, Dubs had reached the height of his career. I mean, he was just about as successful as you can be at his age. A pro gamer making hundreds of thousands of dollars and gaining millions of followers. However, unfortunately for Dubs, with these new followers came a certain amount of responsibility that maybe he wasn't ready for. You see, as a streamer and a content creator, and really just a pro gamer, you always need to be aware of what you're saying both on and off stream, but especially on stream. And Dubs was about to make one of the biggest mistakes a creator could. On February 27th of 2020, while being in a call with some friends that were live streaming, Dubs said a word that starts with the letter N that I'm not going to repeat or even show the clip of. Obviously, this was not a good look for Dubs. After Dubs said this really inappropriate word on his friend's stream, it got clipped thousands of times and went super viral all over Twitter. Even some of the biggest names in Fortnite like Tfue and Ninja reacted to it on stream.
What happened to FaZe Dub?
You don't know?
No.
Oh my god. The kid is so stupid.
What?
He said the hard R on stream.
He what?
Yeah, he said the hard R on stream.
Oh boy. That makes me more uncomfortable than a white person dropping a hard R.
And just because someone says the N-word doesn't mean they're racist. Like, I don't think fucking Dubs is obviously racist. Like, what the fuck? But it is fucking weird that he would say it, like, you know, like in his off time, you know? Because, like, if you say it on stream and it's an obvious slip up, you can fucking tell, you know? Like when my dumb ass said it. But, like, if he's just saying it, like, with his boys, kind of fucking cringe.
Of course, Dubs had to say something, so he immediately went to Twitter apologizing and said this: "I can't even describe how sorry I am. I did not intend to be hurtful in any way, but what I said was still hurtful, insensitive, and wrong. The word shouldn't have even been in my vocabulary, and I apologize from the bottom of my heart to everyone I offended by using it. You deserve better." Although it was right of Dubs to apologize, it did seem to be a pretty basic response to the situation. And because of this big controversy, Dubs' organization FaZe had to respond. In their statement, they would go on to say that they don't tolerate any form of hate speech and that they would indefinitely suspend Dubs from competing, streaming, or posting on social media as a FaZe member, and they basically made him silence all of his accounts. Plus, him and the rest of his team at FaZe had to go through sensitivity training. And because the nature of the internet is that it's so fast-paced, things just kind of moved on and everyone seemed to forget about this. We don't know exactly when FaZe officially unsuspended Dubs, but if you look at his Twitter, he posts a longer Notes app apology that seemed to mark his return to the internet, and you guys can read that on your own. Just pause the video. After this, it was back to business as usual for Dubs. He got right back to playing Fortnite, and everything just seemed back to normal. Despite all the controversy, it seemed like Dubs came out of the situation mostly unscathed, with all of his fans still supporting him. In fact, he seemed to be doing better than ever when it came to Fortnite, because on April 18th of 2020, Dubs and his duo partner Mega got a first place in the FNCS Chapter 2 Season 2 Heat 4. Then, the next day, Dubs and Mega would proceed to get second place in the grand finals, earning them $37,000. Finally, Dubs had truly come back from the controversy. However, just when things seemed to be going in the right direction for Dubs, things took a turn for the worse again. It really just seemed like Dubs couldn't catch a break, because on May 2nd, an account called LeafFR on Twitter posted a video with proof of Dubs cheating in a cash cup. allegedly, Dubs and another player, Waffles, were teaming up together in a solo cash cup. Many believe that this is a super obvious example of teaming, and after the video blew up, Dubs got banned from Fortnite for an entire month. A lot of people in the Fortnite community were calling for Dubs to get removed from FaZe. I mean, combined with what he had said just a few months ago, this was the second time that he had done something really bad, and it seemed like FaZe just really didn't want to drop it. And once again, it seemed like Dubs just kind of got off without any repercussions. He did make a 45-minute YouTube video defending himself and saying how it was obvious that he wasn't cheating.
I've been doing that in scrims forever. Like, someone is trying to grief me or anything, I usually just on them.
In my opinion, it's really hard to tell whether or not he was actually cheating. I mean, it looks like he may have been, but I'm gonna leave that up to you guys in the comment section down below to decide whether or not you think he was cheating. Dubs had so many controversies, one after another, that a lot of people in the Fortnite community thought that he was purposely trying to stir up controversy to get out of his FaZe contract.
Which is like, he was trying to get out of his contract.
That's not how you do it.
I mean, kind of is.
I mean, yeah, you're gonna get out of it, but you're gonna get a lot of hate for it.
However, this isn't proven, and luckily for Dubs, his ban only lasted a couple of weeks, and he got right back to competing. Everything seemed to be back to normal. Dubs was still in FaZe, and he was still cracked at the game. However, after all these controversies, Dubs did get a lot quieter on his social medias. It seemed like he just wanted to stay out of the limelight for the time being. In the next year of 2021, Dubs, although remaining quiet, did still have some awesome Fortnite performances. He ended up earning $48,000 in the year of 2021, which was even $10,000 more than he had earned the year before in 2020. And because of all of this success, in February of 2022, Dubs and his friends and FaZe members, Mega and Bizzle, would move into a house together in Virginia so they could have zero ping. But this did not last very long, because Dubs would have yet another setback in his career. After a pretty uneventful 2022 where he didn't earn very much money, FaZe decided to drop their Fortnite roster on February 8th of 2023. And after this, Dubs sort of just faded. I know it seems like I'm skipping over a lot of details, but that's because there really wasn't that much going on for Dubs in this time. He was playing in tournaments and getting some average placements, but never earning more than $5,000 or $10,000 in a tournament, when just years before that, he was earning 10, 20, 30, 50, and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Later on that year, Dubs would make his final tweet on his Twitter account. He never really announced where he was going, and after that tweet, Dubs sort of just disappeared from the internet. It had been almost a year with nobody hearing anything from Dubs until Mega recently told his live stream where Dubs had been.
Chat, Dubs is in the army right now. He's actually the captain of his unit. Like, he used to IG on Fortnite, but now he's IGLing the army. It's honestly sad, bro. It's like, bro, he hasn't hit me up since he joined. Like, I haven't talked to him since. Like, I haven't heard of him in months, man. He hasn't hit me back, nothing, bro. What's his IRL 8? Alright, bro. Dubs is definitely giving Fortnite comps in the army, though. He shoots a kid, 1 HP, 1 HP.
So, as you can clearly see, Dubs has made some mistakes. But don't we all? Dubs was a kid during most of his time as a Fortnite pro, and while that doesn't excuse some of his actions, it might just explain them. I, for one, know that I will always be grateful for the contributions that Dubs made to the Fortnite community. I also think it speaks volumes that he left his luxurious life behind to go and serve his country in the army. So, say what you want about FaZe Dubs, but he never gave up throughout setbacks and controversies. And I think we can all learn something from the story of what happened to FaZe Dubs. Unlike Dubs, our next player is hated by literally nobody. He is one of the smartest, kindest, coolest guys in the community. His name is Mr. Savage. Martin Foss Anderson was born on the 12th of November in 2004. He grew up in Oslo, Norway, alongside of his brother.
I live in Oslo in Norway. I really love the fact that I grew up here. In the winter, I like cross-country skiing and slalom, but I think my favorite activity outside is playing football with my brother.
As you can see from that clip, Martin and his brother were very active and also very competitive.
My brother and I have always been competitive, play a game of chess, playing ping pong, and it's always fun.
Eventually, however, this competition moved away from just sports and developed into video games. And on September 26th of 2017, a new game came out that would change Mr. Savage's life forever.
Let's now talk Fortnite, shall we? It's the newest video game craze spreading across fast among kids, college kids, even celebrities.
The Fortnite craze took the entire world by storm, and Mr. Savage was no different. Savage's brother was actually one of the first people to pick up the game, and was also the one that introduced him to it.
My brother has a big role when it comes to my Fortnite career. He introduced me to the game, so without him, I maybe wouldn't even have started playing the game. At the beginning, we played a lot of games. I was better than him, and then he just exploded and took over.
Martin had to pick a gamer tag to use in-game, and after some fine-tuning, he eventually landed on Mr. Savage.
How'd you come on Mr. Savage?
I was like 12, and then my name was Savage Boy. And then I was like, what the f? And then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be like Mr. Beast and do Mr. Savage.
And he ended up absolutely falling in love with the game.
Fortnite kind of chose me. It came at the perfect time for me because I was homeschooled when it came out. So I had a lot of time to play. I just kept grinding it, man. And then started streaming, everything went well.
Since Mr. Savage was already homeschooled, he didn't have to worry much about homework or the typical school schedule like a lot of the other pro players we've talked about. Instead, Savage just got to focus all of his time on playing the game. And because he enjoyed it so much, he wanted to share that passion with others, and he started uploading gameplay to his YouTube channel. Mr. Savage launched his YouTube on April 23rd of 2015, and he would upload his first video just a few years later on March 22nd of 2018. His first video is titled Fortnite 286 meter jumping no scope with hunting rifle, and the video shows exactly that.
No scope.
Shortly after uploading his first YouTube video, Martin decided that he also wanted to live stream. So he booted up his stream for the first time on May 11th of 2018, just a few months after starting YouTube. He spent month after month streaming to really low viewers, but at the end of the day, it didn't matter because he was just having a great time playing the game. That being said, after 6 months of streaming and posting videos, Savage would slowly work his way up to 50,000 subscribers on December 9th of 2018. And because Savage had been playing the game so much, or maybe because he was just naturally gifted, he started to notice that he was really good at the game. But there was only one problem. At this early time of Fortnite, they didn't really have any sort of esports league for Fortnite. And when they did start out with some small tournaments limited to creators and pro players, there was no opportunity for Savage to compete because at the time he was only 14 years old. And the age to compete in early Fortnite, for those of you that don't know, was 16 years old. And this meant that Savage wouldn't be able to compete in any official Fortnite tournaments.
Yeah, so I've been playing Fortnite since like the first month of it being released. And at the start, I couldn't play any of the very early events of Fortnite because of the age limit. The age limit was like, I think it was 16 or 18. I mean, I was like, please lower the age limit, please.
Luckily for Savage, early on in 2019, the age limit was lowered to 13, meaning that he was finally able to compete and sign with an esports team. Because even though he wasn't officially competing, all of the orgs had their eyes on this new up-and-coming pro named Savage. And the team that wanted him the most and who got him was NRG.
Double your money and make a stack. On to the next one. On to the next one.
Oh, I hit you. My headshot.
Savage's signing to NRG shocked everyone. A 14-year-old joining a major gaming org is pretty normal now. But back then, esports had been dominated by players that were in their early to late 20s. Games like Call of Duty and Counter-Strike had been around for so long that most of their player base was in that age range. So when somebody signed for a team under 18, it was notable. But 14 years old was absolutely insane, especially back then. And shortly after joining NRG, Mr. Savage would team up with another young Fortnite prodigy named Benji Fishy. This dynamic duo teamed up for their first ever official Fortnite event on February 15th of 2019, and it was the Share the Love Cup. And although there weren't any official cash prizes for this event, soon enough they would get the opportunity to win millions.
The Fortnite World Cup. The Fortnite World Cup starts on April 13th, when all eligible Fortnite players from around the world will be able to compete in the weekly online opens. Each online open has a prize pool of $1 million. That's 10 weeks and $10 million up for grabs. And it's all online. In each region, the top performing players from the online opens will earn a spot in the Fortnite World Cup Finals in New York City to compete for their share of a $30 million prize.
Because of their incredibly strong placements in the EU region, Mr. Savage and Benji were strong contenders going into the World Cup qualifiers. And especially after being signed to a team like NRG, the expectations and pressure were at an all-time high. And because of this duo's extraordinary skill and all of the tournaments that they were playing live, Mr. Savage ended up getting a lot more traffic to his YouTube and Twitch accounts. And more specifically, he would hit 300,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel. And Savage was getting tens of thousands of viewers on every stream. And that's insane considering he's 14 years old, and just a year earlier, he was streaming to 7 or 8 viewers consistently. That just goes to show you that if you do something long enough and you put your heart into it, you can 100% succeed. Anyways, right before the World Cup qualifiers started, Epic Games held a World Cup warm-up event so everyone could get used to the new point system. And just as everybody expected, Savage and Benji absolutely dominated.
One guy left, That's guy.
Stay tip empty.
Watch out for your mats. You might have capped mats. Who knows?
Yeah. Go now. On me.
Nice! Back to back, and we got 15 kills this one, dude. Let's fucking go!
This crazy duo placed first in Europe, winning the boys $2,500 each. And they would not stop there, because the World Cup qualifiers would start on April 13th, and they continued their domination on the EU circuit. The first week of qualifiers that Savage competed in was actually the week 2 of qualifiers, the first week of duos. And then, once again, they would place first in all of Europe, being the first duo on Europe to qualify for the World Cup. And this time, they both won $5,000 each.
Let's go!
Yeah, we're chilling, bro. We're chilling. Let's go.
This win got the duo a ticket straight to New York City for the big LAN event. But just because they were already going to the World Cup didn't mean they were going to skip out on the rest of the qualifiers. And plus, Savage still needed to qualify for the solo event. In week 3, Savage got 19th place, which was awesome, but not good enough to qualify for the World Cup solos. So in the next week of solos, which was week 5 of qualifiers, he went all out. He ended up placing 4th and winning $2,500 and a solo World Cup qualifying spot.
8 limbs this game. They've got to go up the side of a mountain, and it's shadow bomb time. Look at how awkward this is. He's getting completely blocked and out. He's deciding to take storm damage. Yes. Mr. Savage. Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my goodness! What a play! The best shadow bomb use I've ever seen. Mr. Savage M rising to the top of the mountain like his plane will when this freak of nature probably goes to New York.
Holy shit.
Please, come on. I'm 5th right now. Yes, me 5th. Yeah, all the games must be over.
Bro. Let's fucking go! Holy shit.
I'm so fucking happy
Oh,
right
Savage.
now. I'm gonna go watch my replays, dude.
After all was said and done, Savage won $18,700 before the World Cup even started, just by playing in all the qualifiers. So now all he had left to do was go to the big tournament, and he flew all the way from Norway down to the United States hoping to win big. Going into the tournament, they were definitely fan favorites. Unfortunately, the games wouldn't exactly work out in Savage's favor. During the duos competition, him and Benji placed 14th, which was only 4 placements away from the next tier of earnings. And although this was a huge disappointment to both Savage and Benji, they still did really well considering their age, and they had to prepare for solos the next day. So with everything on the line, the young Mr. Savage sat down and placed 29th out of 100 players. And just to be clear, neither of these placements were bad, but they just weren't as good as Savage wanted to do based on how much they were dominating EU during the qualifiers. But Fortnite World Cup was just the start of Savage's career, because on the final day of the World Cup, Fortnite would announce FNCS, also known as the Fortnite Championship Series. Every Fortnite season would now have a series of qualifier tournaments to get into the major grand finals at the end of the season. Because of this switch up, a ton of players were now looking for new teammates whose playstyles worked well with the new meta. This included Mr. Savage, and while he and Benji were still on good terms and evidently still close friends, they decided not to play together during the FNCS Season X. Instead, Savage would team up with a new trio, Rojo and Item, where they finished in 7th place. Savage actually wouldn't compete in the Chapter 2 Season 1 FNCS, but he did travel all the way back to the United States, and more specifically Anaheim, California, to compete in DreamHack. For those of you not familiar with esports events, DreamHack is known for being a BYOC, or Bring Your Own Computer LAN event. They're highly regarded events in various esports like CSGO, Overwatch, Street Fighter, Rocket League, and more. This was one of the earliest events, however, that had a Fortnite DreamHack. It was hosted on February 23rd of 2020 and had some of the best players from around the world. People like Savage's ex-duo Benji Fishy and other seasoned American pros like Kanata and Epic Whale were all in attendance.
Well, I traveled to LA, you know, mainly for the Anaheim DreamHack tournament. So it's a solo tournament. A lot of good players are playing. So going to LA, it's nice getting to meet people that do the same thing as me.
The LAN itself had a multi-day qualifier, and only the best of the best would make it to the final day of competition.
With DreamHack Anaheim, the format was like the first day, I think 200 people out of the 1,200 participating would qualify for the semifinals. And day 2, there were semis, which would be top 100 out of the 400 people that qualified. And then the last day would be finals.
Mr. Savage had really high hopes, trying to place in the top 5 and make up for the fact that he didn't do as well as he wanted in the World Cup.
I mean, going to NA and, you know, competing against a lot of NA players, it'll be good. I feel like they have a different playstyle, which would, you know, suit mine really well. Well, my main goal is placing top 5. What would be super nice is obviously winning. I think everyone wants to win. But yeah, if I get top 5, I think I'll be like, you know, that's good. I met my goals, but you know, I wanna place first.
He ended up doing insanely well during the qualifiers, placing first out of all 1,200 people that were at the event.
After placing first in the first day of qualifiers, it was definitely a big confidence boost, because at the start there was 1,200 players. It narrowed down to 400, and then I managed to come out on top. Like I said, I'm just here to like prove everyone that I'm, you know, a good player, and prove to myself that I'm a good player. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm obviously here for a little bit of money as well, but you know, yeah.
Of course, let's not lie about that. So do you think do you have a chance to win?
Yeah, my goal is like top 3, top 5, but I think I have a good chance of winning, yeah.
Why?
Why what?
Why do you have a good chance to winning?
I think...
What do you have that no one else has?
I have a big brain. Like, most Fortnite players, they just go for eliminations and just don't really have any like major strategies, and yeah, like I have everything planned.
And while first place in the qualifiers was impressive, it didn't guarantee that he would do well in the finals. But like always, Savage was going to do his best and hopefully dominate the competition. Somehow, Savage did even better during the final day of the LAN than he did in qualifiers, and even ran into some friendly faces along the way.
In the first game of DreamHack Online Finals, me and Benji, we actually bumped into each other in Lazy Lake. I think I sniped him twice. I did like 250 damage to him. I kind of griefed this game. It wasn't on purpose. I knew it was Benji, but it wasn't like...
Honestly, I kind of hoped that you, like, I needed a kill after that. I needed a kill. Like, it was... In tilted? Yeah. What do you mean in tilted? In lazy. Oh, in lazy? What? Who are you? What? Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah, I pre-fired you. Yeah, I wanted...
Yeah, I think you definitely feel like worse for people when you kill them in a bigger event, because like, let's say I get a kill, right, and then I see that it pops up with like my friend's name, and I'm like, oh, why can it have been someone else, right? Because obviously I don't want them to do bad.
And after games 4 and 5, Savage was a clear front runner for first place.
After game 4 or 5, I was really happy because I was first place. And yeah, I knew I just had to keep it up because, as I said earlier, my goal was to maintain like 40 points average a game, and I think I had like 55 points average a game, so I was doing really well. And I knew even if I had a couple bad games, I could still place first.
And then he did it. He finally redeemed himself and got first place.
When I was like top 5 in the last game, I raised my hands off my keyboard and I was like, I think I just won this.
It's Savage versus Benji Fishy, ex-Morg teammates, 100 Thieves versus NRG on low ground. Well, how you want this? And Savage says no as he blocks him out. It's a 1v1. Savage, the next RPG comes through. The pump shot misses. It's another chance. He goes for the dive. No mats. Here we go. Odinite dodges the shot. Savage still up top. The fourth shot hits. Mr. Savage is the champion of DreamHack Anaheim in a single game, too. After all day, what did we just watch? We watched the man break a world record today for points in DreamHack Anaheim.
Not only was this win huge, it also broke LAN event records.
It's time to crown ourselves the DreamHack featuring Fortnite champions here for DreamHack Anaheim 2020. After 8 games of grueling competition, he acquired 400 points, recently signed none other than 100 Thieves, Mr. Savage!
Yeah, so like lifting a trophy like that has definitely been like a big dream for me, being able to stand on top of the podium and just raise your hand and just scream out of pure joy. Yeah, it was definitely a good moment.
And while this win was an incredible moment for everyone involved, it was also a little bit bittersweet, because little did we know at the time, this would be the last ever Fortnite LAN event before the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown. Admittedly, the lockdown didn't really affect gamers like me very much. It's not like I really leave my house and touch grass anyway. Plus, most of Fortnite's main season was online. However, unfortunately, these LAN events do require you to venture out into the real world and enter huge esports arenas, but with all public gatherings being banned, we wouldn't get to see any worldwide competitions. So, with going outside being banned, everyone returned to FNCS, including Mr. Savage. And during Chapter 2, Season 2, he would duo with iDrop and placed 12th in the Grand Finals. It was around this time, after another poor Grands placement, that Mr. Savage decided to go back to Old Faithful and start playing with the GOAT Benji Fishy once again. Their first return as a duo was during the Contenders Cash Cup on May 14th of 2020, and they'd continue to play on and off for FNCS depending on the season. In early 2020, Fortnite decided to hold its first solo invitational FNCS, and on May 24th, Mr. Savage would place 15th, earning himself $3,000. This was followed up by the infamous solo FNCS season, which was Chapter 2, Season 3, and unfortunately, Savage did even worse, placing 57th in EU. Going into the next season, however, Epic would switch things up and head back to trios. And with this, his placements would drastically improve, as he got 8th place in the Chapter 2 Season 4 Grands with Benji Fishy and Letchi. And then the next season, he would get 8th place once again, this time with iDrop and Tayson. But this was just the start in Chapter 2 for Savage, because in Chapter 2, Season 6, the EU Grand Finals would be held on May 30th of 2021, and they would be one of the best finales we would ever see in Fortnite. Everyone brought their A game to EU this year, and after the first day of Grand Finals, Mr. Savage was on top of the leaderboard with his trio, Andretta and Refsguard, but only winning by 1 single point.
Speaking of a top 10, we got to take a look at EU's current standings, right? Which trios ended in top 10 coming into day number 2. Refsguard, Andretta, Mr. Savage, but right behind them, Hen, Janice, Chapix, your trios champion from last season. These two trios trading places all day yesterday, boys, and now they're looking to make this an all-out brawl.
Savage and his team knew they had to go above and beyond during day 2 to be able to comfortably win this season. But unfortunately, the rest of the European region had their own plans that day. After a cutthroat day 2, Mr. Savage, along with Andretta and Refsguard, just barely missed out on first place, falling behind Queasy's trio by just 17 points.
Real in their sights could win it all right here, right now.
Looks like I don't see Savage alive either. It could be a matter of just moments and mere points right there, but it seems as though Queasy, Truex, and Jerky have done enough to wrap up the FNCS.
And while second place is incredible, I can only imagine that Savage felt a little bit disappointing, considering they were in first place going into day 2, and he was still looking for his first ever tournament win. But I'm sure the $70,000 each that his trio took home will at least make him feel a little better. Anyway, the trio would decide to stick together again for one more season, but after placing 11th in Chapter 2, Season 7, they swapped out Refsguard for Mr. Savage's old duo once again, Benji Fishy. This new trio unfortunately did even worse, placing 23rd in Chapter 2 Season 8, but they did decide to stick together for the 2021 Grand Royale and managed to improve a little bit, placing 15th. Following this whirlwind of teammates and solos and trios, Epic Games decided to announce that they were returning to duos, and this was a huge and welcomed change. Plus, it meant that Mr. Savage didn't have to worry who to team up with, because everybody knew he was going to go back and duo with his good buddy, Benji Fishy. The total throwback duo played together for Chapter 3's Season 1 and Season 2, and unfortunately, they didn't do too hot. They would place 36th in Season 1 and 45th in Season 2, but at least they were consistently qualifying for Grands. Unfortunately, they had bigger aspirations, and that meant that the duo were officially broken up. They no longer played together, and Chapter 3 Season 2 would be the last time we'd ever see Benji and Savage play together competitively. However, it wasn't because of the reasons people normally have for breaking up with a duo. It wasn't because of low placements or they had some weird drama fallout. It was actually because Benji decided he wanted to switch video games entirely.
I'm gonna try to keep this as short as possible, but I am officially quitting competitive Fortnite to pursue Valorant. Recently, I've fell out of love with Fortnite. I used to be able to play Fortnite like 8-10 hours a day, but even last season, I was only playing during the tournaments just because I really couldn't force myself to get on the game. The reason I always wanted to be a pro gamer was because I always wanted to have a job that I enjoyed. So for me right now, it seems pointless carrying on something that I don't enjoy.
And with Benji Fishy gone, that means Savage would have to make a new friend. And for the upcoming FNCS, he landed on a new duo named Hen.
Well, I'm playing with Hen, so my expectations for this FNCS they're pretty big. I want to get on top again. Hopefully we can have an uncon POI. And we're practicing a lot. Even though like the first 2 cash games that we played, it hasn't gone too well. I think we can improve and get ready for FNCS, and we'll do good.
The duo would only play together for Chapter 3 Season 3, placing 26th in the Grand Finals and winning $3,000 each. He then teamed up with his old trio member iDrop for the FNCS Invitational, which was the first LAN event back since the World Cup. It was held live and in person at the Raleigh Convention Center in North Carolina on November 12th and 13th of 2022. But this event would have a $1 million prize pool. People were hyped for this tournament, and the convention center was filled. Fans everywhere were hyped for in-person events, and a lot of these new younger players would be playing their first ever LAN competition. At this point, Savage was one of the few remaining pro players from the World Cup, so he was at a slight advantage considering that competing live and in person at LAN events didn't make him uncomfortable at all. Unfortunately, however, this wasn't enough of an edge to help him place where he wanted, because they ended up finishing 31st out of 50 teams. However, the good news was that with this invitational, Fortnite was going to make its return to live in-person events, and that meant Savage would have another chance to redeem himself. On January 11th of 2023, Fortnite would announce later that year that they would be hosting an FNCS Global Championship 2023 in Copenhagen, Denmark. The announcement also confirmed that duos would remain the game mode going into 2023. And Mr. Savage's 2023 was rather uneventful. In fact, he didn't even qualify for the Global Championships in Major 1, Major 2, or Major 3, which meant that the last chance major, which was held on August 20th of 2023, would be Savage's one and only chance to qualify for the LAN event at the end of that year. Savage would duo with very popular player named Vadil. However, they weren't the only players competing for this spot at the LAN event. Other notable players like his old duo Hen, Moneymaker, and Japko had all been left out during previous majors, meaning that the competition was at an all-time high to try and get that spot. Luckily for Savage and Vadil, however, they destroyed all this competition and finished first place in EU, getting them their ticket to Copenhagen for the finals.
And let's take a look at the standings. We're all here on eggshells right now, and here's who's made it to the big dance, topping off the leaderboard, Vadil and Mr. Savage, and we've seen some serious movement here.
This, of course, leads us to the FNCS Global Championship 2023. It would be held from October 13th to 15th, and it was the first ever FNCS held outside of North America. So Savage wouldn't have to travel too far, as he just hopped over a couple of countries. Savage and Vadil went into the first day of competition on day 2 of the tournament, which was the lower bracket. The only thing this duo had to do was make it into the top 25 out of 50 teams to make it to the final day of competition. And in fact, they did a lot more than that, as they would get first place on day 2 of the championship. However, on the grand finals on day 3, the team didn't exactly do as hot as they expected. They unfortunately got knocked out consistently in early game and ended up finishing in 36th place. So once again, Savage was disappointed, and because of this, Vadil and Savage decided to split up following the LAN. In his search for a new duo, Savage would end up playing with a ton of the best players in EU. You see, although Savage was getting older, he is an IGL, or an in-game leader, which means that he was not known for his youthful mechanics and fighting skills, but more his brain and smarts in the game. And that means some of the best fighters in the world wanted to play with him. He tried out duos Pink, Queasy, and eventually landed on the one and only Mongrel. The two of them duoed together for the entire 2024 season, but their placements weren't great. Although they qualified for Major 1, they placed only 39th. And then they didn't even qualify for Major 2. And because this duo was desperate to qualify for LAN, they made a very drastic decision and decided to travel across the world to North America to play the third major finals in NA instead of EU. However, this plan didn't exactly go how they thought it would, because although they thought the competition would be easier, they would end up placing 28th during Majors 3. But just because he didn't qualify for after the LANs didn't mean that Savage was gone for good. At the end of Globals, Epic Games announced some huge changes coming into Chapter 6 of FNCS. With Trios and Siphon making their big returns, it's clear that Savage wants in on the action. He's been playing Cash Cups and streaming a lot as well during the off-season, and making a ton of other content as well. So it's clear that Mr. Savage isn't going anywhere anytime soon. I, for one, would love to see Savage make a comeback and get that FNCS title that he's been chasing after for so long. And our last player, although he is incredibly talented, is also pretty toxic. His name is Reet. Nathan Reet Amundsen was born on May 16th of 2006. His father introduced him to console gaming at a very young age, and a young Nathan was hooked. Him and his dad originally played on the PlayStation 3 together, where they would play some of Reet's favorite games of all time, COD Zombies and Madden. But eventually, Reet would get an Xbox 360 of his very own, and shortly after that, on September 26th of 2017, the biggest game in our generation would come out, and it was called Fortnite. Reet was only 11 years old when the game came out, and one of his friends at school told him that he should give the game a try, and he loved it. But obviously, at such a young age, Reet was not a pro player right off the bat. I mean, he was still very young and playing on console. That being said, Reet did notice very quickly that he was better than pretty much every other person he played with, especially all of his friends at school. But as Reet got a little bit older, the Fortnite esports scene would start to develop, and there were opportunities to play in tournaments outside of just playing with your friends. What was very cool is that this esport wasn't like any we had ever seen before. You didn't need to be on a team or join some fancy league. Anybody could just load up for a tournament, solos, duos, trios, or squads, and try and win some cash. And on top of that, even console players like Reet were able to compete in these esports tournaments, which in pretty much every other game title is unheard of. Reet would compete in his first ever Fortnite tournament on February 11th of 2019, and it was called the Architect Pop-Up Cup. Unfortunately for Reet, he only placed 1,806th place, but as you all know, this was only the beginning of a very long career. And this was very much the beginning, because if you paid attention to those dates, you would realize that Reet played this tournament at only 12 years old, which is not only crazy, it's also against the rules of Fortnite. However, luckily enough, Reet would not be banned for this. However, this isn't the first time that Reet would be accused of breaking rules. He would face some heavy cheating accusations later on in his career, and we'll be getting to those shortly, so stick around for all the drama. Anyways, back to 2018, and Fortnite had just announced
the Fortnite World Cup. The Fortnite World Cup starts on April 13th, when all eligible Fortnite players from around the world will be able to compete in the weekly online opens. Each online open has a prize pool of $1 million. That's 10 weeks and $10 million up for grabs. And it's all online. In each region, the top performing players from the online opens will earn a spot in the Fortnite World Cup Finals in New York City to compete for their share of a $30 million prize pool.
Reet was still very young during these qualifiers, and while he wasn't able to come close to qualifying, he did make his first ever earnings. During week 8 of the duo qualifiers on NA West, Reet and his duo, Derry and his band, were able to make $100. Sure, it's not the $3 million that Booga won, but for a 13-year-old kid, it was probably amazing to see cash in his pocket from just playing video games. Reet would continue to make money here and there throughout the seasons, and would save up enough money to get his first ever PC. This PC wasn't top of the line or anything like what the rest of the pros are on, but it was good enough to play Fortnite. And at the end of the day, almost anything is better than console. However, even though Reet decided to move up to a PC to get better frames, he would continue playing controller instead of switching over to the much more popular keyboard and mouse. As 2019 went on, Reet kept grinding away and getting better and better at the game. He even managed to get his first ever first place finish in a solo cash cup on November 28th of 2019. And with this huge accomplishment, he also earned $2,500 $550. And at this time, there were not that many impressive controller players. I mean, you had a couple popular ones like Ghost Aiden and Nick Merckx, but generally most of the players earning big money were on mouse and keyboard, so people were really interested in seeing if Reet would continue to improve. Another huge part of Reet's career is wagers. Outside of competing in official Epic tournaments, Reet would also compete in these tokens where you would basically 1v1 other players for money.
I was a little wager kid, dude. Played like box fight wagers, zone wagers, did that really all day, to be honest.
Okay, so you were like all into zone wars and creative and stuff before you got into comp.
Yeah, it was like box fights at the time.
How much money did you make back then? Did you make a lot?
Lots, dude, yeah. I made so much money off box wagers. Then eventually I just like couldn't do wagers in the West Coast anymore because nobody would play me.
Following his success on the competitive leaderboards and in these wagers, Reet decided to start his very own YouTube channel. He uploaded his first video titled How We Got 4th Place in the Fortnite FNCS Finals on April 6th of 2020.
Good kill.
I'm so good! I'm so good! And the year would only get better from there for Reet. On May 24th of 2020, he would place 3rd in the FNCS Invitational Solo Grand Finals on NA West. And this would be his biggest win so far, earning $15,000. Despite all of his many successes, Reet still wasn't very popular in the Fortnite community. Sure, he may have been a menace in the wager community, but he wasn't yet on the competitive radar. And that would all change during the DreamHack Opens on July of 2020. Although Reet only got 18th place, he went on an absolute eliminating rampage during one of the matches in semifinals. Check out these clips.
He gets the wall, gets the cone, box like Muhammad Ali, Reet destroys Silent.
He's trying to get in this, and I don't think this is what you want to do. Yep, the control's gonna go to Reet. He's gonna walk through him.
A poison pill for High Sky as the rest of the lobby will start to pitch on him. Now on the backside of this, Cheats is there too. Inside of this, Reet gets the elim.
He's continuing to show us why here on the main stage.
The backside of this wall is actually taken. Another box that he dives in. Reet is on a tear.
Here, Nosh's
feed, and they're open. They're in the water. He dives.
He's gonna take him out, and now on the other side, though, you see Booga trying to fight for his life.
Now on the defense, he might drop a 20 bomb. We got 6 players left. Definitely could actually contest with this, and still Booga, still 40-yard storm, still Coop, all top tier players. That Reet is going in. Another one, crash pad 2, he gets the wall. Yes, 19. One more kill. One more elim will do this. Another one in the box. He goes. Yes. Isn't it? No!
Take it out!
19 total kills, taking down both High Sky and the World Cup solo champion winner, Booga. Once the match was over, Reet uploaded the highlights of this game to his channel, and it absolutely blew up. It currently has over 1.5 million views, which is one of the most popular videos on his channel. However, with all of this attention, not all of it was good. Not everyone thought this kill streak was entirely natural, however, and this would be the first time that we would see Reet start to get cheating accusations, and these would only get worse and worse throughout his career. But before I tell you about that, I need to tell you about the sponsor of this video, Raycon. Whether you're gaming, listening to music, or watching a Timmy FNBR video, you want your audio quality to be perfect. And more importantly, you want to be able to hear what you're listening to and nothing else. But not all earbuds on the market come with active noise cancellation. Raycon just upgraded their everyday earbuds to include active noise cancellation and so much more. And if you're like me and have a bunch of devices, this next feature is for you. You can now connect to multiple devices at once, which means that you can switch between your phone, your console, your PC, or anything else with ease. On top of that, these earbuds are easily the most comfortable that I've ever used, and they stay in your ears without any trouble. No matter how much you rage while losing in your Fortnite matches, these earbuds are not falling out. And if that wasn't enough for you guys, these earbuds are more affordable than any of the big audio brands. So if you want to upgrade your setup to include Raycon's everyday earbud, click the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/TimmyFNBR to get 20 to 50% off your purchase and free shipping. Now let's get back to the video. All of this attention attention on Reet did have some positives as well, because he garnered the attention of esports orgs and more specifically Extra Gaming. Reet would join their team with an official announcement on September 22nd of 2020.
Another box, he's jumping in ball, he does not care. He's pushing through anybody and everybody.
Top tier players. That Reet is going in. Another one. Crash pad duel against the wall. Yes, 19.
There's no way he's doing this in the best trio in the world.
A beast, bro.
He is a beast. Holy, he's just killed both of them with no mats and then escapes. He's such a freak, man. He killed the third too.
And Reet's outstanding performance wouldn't stop after DreamHack. A few months later, the Frosty Frenzy tournament would take place between December 12th and 14th of 2020. And his trio teammates, Wavy Jacob and Favs, took first place in 3 out of the 4 sessions. It was safe to say that Reet had officially made a name for himself going into the 2021 season. And he wasn't going to stop there, he would only just keep getting better. During the Chapter 2 Season 5 FNCS, Reet and his trio would place 10th in Grand Finals. Following that, the Chapter 2 Season 6 season would see Reet place 6th overall, and then he would get a 3rd overall in the All-Star Showdown on NA West. And on top of that, he would get 2nd in the Chapter 2 Season 7 Grand Finals with his trio, Falconer and Chris. Reet was on a roll, and whenever anyone this successful comes out of nowhere, you're bound to get a ton of cheating accusations. I mean, look at the modern day example, which is Peterbot. I mean, he kind of just started doing well out of nowhere, and it came with a ton of cheating accusations.
Bro, I already know Reet Zens, bro. I already know Reet Zens, bro. 100% Reet Zens, bro.
Oh my god, just the confidence to just stand up and just know you're gonna hit someone. I want to go back and watch like 6 of your arena games and just count how many times you actually miss with your shotgun. Like how many times you miss a shot.
The king of peace control is rapidly building a new name for himself, and it's not a good one. This is the story of... But first, here's how the cheating works. Players buy a device called the Corona Zen. They plug their controller into it, then plug the Zen into their PC or console. Next, they load up different scripts into the Zen and it modifies their controller signal. It can be used in legal ways, but can also be abused to get advantages that are definitely considered cheating. Advantages like soft aim or 3 times stronger aim assist. Zens are currently undetectable because it's not a computer software. When plugged in, your PC just thinks it's a normal controller. Anti-cheat engines detect software, not hardware. Zens are super easy to hide too. Streamers can easily place it under their desks or out of sight of their webcam. Now, with the safety of users sitting at home for online tournaments, there's no way that Epic could know if you're using one. But during an in-person tournament like the World Cup, they can. And it clearly ruined the controller player's ability to perform. First place in World Cup solos earned 59 points. The most points earned by a controller was 16. 4 out of 6 controller players couldn't even place in the top 70, and none of them placed in the top 30. The reason this is so surprising is because of how much they dominated in the qualifiers.
Back in 2021, when Reet was getting accused of hacking, LAN tournaments simply weren't happening due to COVID. So there wasn't really any way for him to prove that he or any of the other popular controller players weren't cheating. With all of these accusations overhead, Reet would enter into the Chapter 2 Season 8 FNCS on Halloween night of 2021. Luckily, however, he did not let the haters get to him.
It's fine. They won, but it's fine.
That's right, they placed first in NA West, winning $50,000. This was Reet's first ever FNCS win, and it wouldn't be his last, because the 2021 FNCS Grand Royale would be held a month later on November 21st of 2021. And Reet was going into this tournament with a brand new trio. He was joined by 2 of the best players on NA West and in all of Fortnite history, Artgrum and Epic Whale. And while these guys had played a couple Cash Cups together, they had never competed in an FNCS. Reet took a huge risk by switching things up right before the biggest tournament of the year, but luckily it paid off, because Reet, Artgrum, and Epic Whale would finish first on NA West.
I'm dropping this for him.
80?
200?
Nice. Go on.
Nice! Let's go, Reet! We're about to... Bro!
Best, dude. We're the best, bro.
The win got Reet a whopping $35,000, or a total $105,000 between his trio, which was his biggest earnings so far. However, moving into the 2022 FNCS season, Epic Games decided to move away from the trios format and go back to the duos format for the new year. This forced a lot of players to reconsider their teams and strategies heading into the next FNCS. And Reet would settle on duoing with his new partner, Rex. In the Chapter 3 Season 2 Grand Finals, Reet and Rex would come in second, but despite the incredible placement, Reet and Rex decided to split ways because Reet would end up playing with one of the best players of all time, Epic Whale. And with all of this hype surrounding Reet and people calling him a cheater, plus teaming up with Epic Whale, everyone was ready for them to dominate all of NA West. Unfortunately, however, they would only get 11th place during the Chapter 3 Season 3 Grand Finals. Although this isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, when you're considering that Reet and Epic Whale are some of the best to ever do it, 11th place isn't exactly what they were looking for. But the FNCS Invitational was coming up in just a few months, and this was not only Reet's perfect opportunity to give his duo a second chance, but also to prove to everybody in the Fortnite community that he wasn't cheating. Unfortunately, however, things didn't go as planned, and the duo would end up finishing 27th out of 50 teams. But at the end of the day, it wasn't exactly a huge loss. They still got to take home $2,000 and beat out some of the greatest players of all time on the leaderboard, like Booga, Miro, and Peterbot, just to name a few. Despite a poor invitational placement, Reet and Epic Whale decided to stay together for the year 2023. This year would be a little bit different than previous FNCS seasons, however. The first major was held on March 2nd of 2023, where Epic Whale and Reet would place 6th on NA West. But it wasn't because Reet and Epic Whale stopped playing together, it's because NA West no longer exists. That's right, on March 10th, Fortnite would announce that the NA West and NA East competitive servers would be combined to one single NA server on Central. This meant basically that any player who wanted to have 0 ping had to move to Dallas, Texas. And of course, Reet did just that. This move to Central made placements even harder because now the best of both NA West and NA East were combined into one super region. The competition was basically doubled for Reet and Epic Whale. And for the two of them, the pressure sort of got to them, as they only placed 14th in the second major of the year and their first one on NA Central. Following this tournament, the two would decide to split. However, they do occasionally play together and seem to be still friends and on good terms. For Major 3, our boy Reet decided to team up with his new duo Ritual. On August 13th of 2023, they would drop into the third major of the year, earning a 10th place, which also was good enough to qualify for the Global Championship at the end of the year. The FNCS Global Championship would take place on October 15th of 2023. It was hosted in Copenhagen, Denmark, and would be only the second time that Reet had ever competed at LAN. And the boys did pretty good, as Reet and Ritual would get a 9th overall, getting them $40,000. And compared to Reet's past invitational performance, this was a big improvement on LAN, and even without a first place finish, they took home $40,000, and even more importantly, Reet finally started to prove to people that he wasn't cheating. Clearly, if he was able to do this on controlled computers at LAN, there was no way he could have been cheating. Because the duo did so well, Reet and Ritual decided to stay duos for the 2024 season. The North America Central server was very competitive this year, with insane duos like Pooyo and Peterbot absolutely terrorizing the region. However, despite this stiff competition, Reet and Ritual placed 5th during Major 1 and 2nd during Major 2. And these placements would not only earn the duo over $100,000, but also qualify them for the Global Championships 2024 later this year. They ended up getting 22nd in Major 3, however, they were already qualified for the Global Championships, so they didn't take it too harshly. FNCS Global Finals for 2024 would be hosted on September 7th and September 8th, right in Dallas, Texas, in the Dickies Arena, right near where Reet lives. The event was split over 2 days, with 6 games on day 1 and 6 games of day 2. This meant that Reet and Ritual would be playing a total of 12 matches to get their piece of the $2 million prize pool. And the first place winners would take home a whopping $400,000. And if you guys are fans of this channel or competitive Fortnite at all, I'm sure you know who won that tournament and how it ended.
Would you please give it everything you've got for the FNCS Global Champions 2024 Peterbot and Pollo!
Reet and Ritual, however, got 12th place and earned $12,000 each, or a total of $24,000. Although this wasn't their goal going into the tournament, when you look at the fact that they were playing against the best duos in the entire world, you can't really blame them for finishing in 12th, and in fact, I would say that that's an incredible placement. After the past FNCS, Epic Games announced that there would be a lot of changes coming to the 2025 season of FNCS.
Man, I can't even believe it. We just wrapped up 2024. Just an amazing year of Fortnite. I was kind of curious though. What's the plan for 2025? Oh, $8 million in prize pool. That's actually really awesome. The players are gonna be really excited to hear that. Wait, I'm sorry, step back. Did you say trios? We're going back to trios? Yeah. Did you say Siphon?
That's right, for 2025, we are going back to trios. So that means Reet and Ritual are going to either have to get a third player, or they'll split and Reet will look for a trio on his own. I don't know who he's going to play with yet, or if he even plans to continue his career much longer, but I for one hope that we see this controller goat keep playing for years to come. Regardless of what the future holds, however, Reet will go down in history as one of, if not the best controller player to ever play the game of Fortnite. Thank you guys so much if you made it to the end of the video. Please do hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed. Use code TimmyFNBR in the Fortnite item shop, and I will see you guys in the next video. Until then though, click this video and watch one more right here. I'll see you later. Peace.